Our story starts with our boy, who became a total goat in knife skills. After deciding to drop out of high school, he dedicated 20 years of his life to becoming the finest swordsman in the country. One day, while working in the kitchen, a staff member points out his alarm. Our boy checks it and realizes he must have accidentally set it to vibrate. Seeing the notification, he briefly wonders if it's from that game he deleted earlier, but assumes his phone is just acting up. At that moment, another staff member interrupts to inform him that a guest has arrived. Not in the mood to deal with anyone, our boy instructs them to say he went to buy milk. But the guest, a dude who looks like a crypto scam salesman, walks straight into the kitchen. Without wasting any time, the guy asks if our boy is willing to work for him and casually offers a 300 million advance payment. Unfazed, our boy slices a fish so cleanly it looks like paper and says, "The kitchen should be clean. I won't tolerate dirt here." Then he tells the guy to get out. The crypto bro, clearly not used to rejection, gets mad and yells, "A sword saint like you shouldn't be wasting your skills cutting fish in a place like this. Come work for me." But our boy, being the absolute Chad he is, grabs a kitchen knife. The sight of it is enough to scare the crypto bro and his guards. As they run for their lives, the crypto bro yells, "I'm not giving up," before bolting out of the kitchen. Later, while taking a break, a staff member jokes, "If that were me, I'd have taken the offer immediately. Why'd you turn it down?" But our boy says, "All I've ever done is slice fish heads with a knife. I don't know the first thing about being a thug." The staff member grins, "But you could use your reputation as a sword master to intimidate people without even lifting a finger. No harm done. You'd make a fortune and buy yourself a house." Our boy shakes his head. "Even if someone offered me billions, I'd still say no." The staff member then nods at the notifications on his phone and teases, "What's this? Got a girlfriend?" Our boy, proudly rocking his V card plus premium, replies, "Nah, it's just a game." As the conversation ends, the boss calls for the cleaning guy, who leaves first. Left alone, our boy reflects on his past. He remembers how his family went bankrupt when he was young, forcing him to grind every single day. He wonders if he's been too focused on earning money, losing sight of everything else. Just then, his phone vibrates again. He looks at it and sees a notification. The Demon King's invasion of the academy isn't over yet. Curious, he taps on the notification and opens the game. As the screen lights up, a prompt to touch the screen appears. Hearing the nostalgic soundtrack and seeing the female characters, he can't help but think, "My waifu is still as beautiful as ever." But before he can process anything else, the phone flickers, and then our boy is blinded by a bright light. Meanwhile, the same staff member from earlier calls out, "Hey, the boss is asking for you," but it's too late. Our boy has been isekai'd. The staff member shakes his head, assuming our boy has just gone to take a shit, but his phone left behind on the rooftop has the message says, "Transfer complete." We get more into the details about the game, which follows a pay-to-win model with a standard auto-hunting system, just like countless mass-produced mobile games. But the reason our boy is playing this game is because he became a weeb after seeing the female characters. Like a true weeb, he spent all his money on it. But despite spending everything, he ended up as a background character. His name is Kang Jiyama. While walking, he accidentally bumps into a blue-haired woman and notices something strange. The setting of Divine Protection resembles Korea. Names, locations, and geography are only slightly altered, with a few minor character variations. Thanks to this, Kang adapts quickly. A whole year passes, and now he's living as a teenager, unsure whether this is real or just part of the game. For him, it's a life he can't fully enjoy, much like his previous one. One day, he comes back from school, and his parents show him the acceptance letter from the academy. They praise him and tell him to pack everything. Meanwhile, our boy feels that his modest dream of living a normal life has been shattered once again. He had tried to avoid the ceremony several times, but couldn't. Looking at the family photo, he wonders how the Kang he possessed managed to get accepted into such a prestigious school. He explains that last year, Kang manifested divine powers, took the entrance exam immediately, and passed. Before he possessed Kang, the boy had already unlocked divine powers and passed the exam. Our boy thinks maybe this guy is a genius. He explains that divine powers are special abilities, similar to skills in a game, but not everyone possesses them. These powers typically manifest through genetics, and based on whether one has divine power, society is divided into 3 classes: the privileged, the commoners, and the poor. The academy where Kang was admitted was originally founded to preserve the power of the elite. Though established under the pretense of hero cultivation, in reality, it's only for upper-class families. However, recently, a system known as special admission was introduced for non-hero families. The character our boy possesses was admitted as one of these special students. He also understands that heroes are essential because of the threat posed by the Demon King. But despite all this, he knows this isn't reality. It's just a training ground preparing students for war. Our boy says divine power, and a status window appears, still unfamiliar to him. He sees the divine power he's unlocked and notices a skill called painlessness, which has a 12-hour cooldown. He sees it as nonsense. His attention shifts to the divine power granted to him upon possessing Kang, the blessing of the sword god, with an activation time of infinity. Our boy never saw this blessing in the game before. The power allows him to slash anything, but the activation condition is that his sword must be exactly 30 centimeters in length and less than 5 centimeters in width, which just so happens to be his trusty Sashimi knife. Back to square one, our boy wonders if he packed everything and realizes he forgot his equipment. He knows even the lowest grade E-rank equipment costs tens of millions, while average C-rank equipment costs hundreds of millions. A and S-rank items must be treasures in themselves. He understands that the tuition alone is exorbitant, and he doesn't want to end up like an average American college student drowning in debt. So, he decides to head to the nearest Walmart to purchase a weapon. He remembers his first master's words, "A true master never blames their equipment." The next day, dressed in his uniform and entering the academy, the instructor says, "Why do you have regular kitchen knives from Walmart?" He thinks our boy is playing a prank on him and decides to lecture him, saying that how can he use a kitchen knife as a weapon in the class placement test? But our boy simply replies that it's his weapon and that he's a special admission student from a modest family. He explains that the tuition alone was already a huge burden on his parents, so he couldn't justify adding the cost of an expensive weapon. The instructor sees the color of his name tag and understands that for a student not from an upper-class background, the academy's fees would indeed be overwhelming. He feels guilty for pushing away such a sincere student. Our boy then says, "Blaming equipment is something only amateurs do." With that line, the instructor sees our boy's unyielding spirit and concludes that he's the real GOAT and approves his weapon. Meanwhile, the students behind him recognize him as a special admission student. They whisper among themselves, wondering how someone like him ended up in such a prestigious academy. The instructor shuts them up, warning that after the evaluation, depending on their actions, he can either be their angel or their devil. Hearing this, our boy gets PTSD from his past and decides to step outside for a break. He finds a bench and feels relieved that he's completed the equipment inspection and survived the entrance ceremony. Now, all that's left is the class placement exam. As he sits there, he realizes that he will be studying for the next 3 years. He thinks about how the academy looks different compared to the graphics in the game, feeling that attending a school meant for the upper class feels unreal, especially since he had to drop out of high school due to family circumstances in his previous life. Then, the class placement test is announced. Students are instructed to gather at the training hall by 1 p.m. He says that while the entrance ceremony is over, the class placement test remains important. He must familiarize himself with his knife. He remembers his master's advice, never put the knife down, even for a single day. Even while you sleep, keep holding it. Kang feels as though he's unconsciously adopted his master's habits. After 20 years of living by the knife, he wonders if a 1-year break has dulled his skills. He removes the cover from the knife and finds it far better than expected. So, he decides to test it by cutting a leaf. But suddenly, the system alerts him that the weapon has met the activation conditions, and the blessing of the sword god activates. However, since both his physical body and the weapon are at too low a level, the system initiates suppression to synchronize with the user. Shocked, our boy can't believe that simply drawing the knife triggered the blessing. As the synchronization completes, the system wishes him, "May the blessing of the gods be with you." Then, an extreme pain strikes his entire body, and he realizes that if this continues, he's going to die. Suddenly, the world shatters like glass. He finds himself in a new space and realizes he's living in the Matrix. He drops the knife, and the world becomes normal again, bringing him back to reality. However, his body still feels the pain. While he understands the activation of divine power, he wonders if the chaos surrounding him is linked to the sword god's blessing. The backlash is unbearable, and although the divine power of painlessness offers some relief from mild soreness, it can't alleviate this kind of agony. Our boy realizes that using his skill in this manner means he can't use it again. Then, an announcement comes for all students to gather at the hall immediately. Our boy sees the sashimi knife and decides to pick it up for safety concerns. He tries to pick it up, hoping it will be okay this time, but the sword god's blessing activates once more, and he feels pain again. Meanwhile, in the training hall, all the students have gathered. Parents chat about how much they spent on admission, but suddenly, they see an old man who is a 7-star hero, King Siegfried, a descendant of Aaron Nibelung and the direct disciple of the founding hero, Valor. Seeing him, the parents quickly return to their seats. Then, we get our first mommy character in this series, the 7-star hero, Media Poison. She says, "It's been half a century since we last met, but the old man says you still haven't begun dressing like an academy director, and turning 70 doesn't seem to have effect on you." Wait, she's 70? Anyway, she says that age is just a number, and every woman wants to remain beautiful until her last day. She offers to use her blessings to make Siegfried look 10 years younger. However, Siegfried dismisses her offer and says that humans should prioritize their inner nature, but she calls him an old fart, irritating the old man. She also says he's changed a lot and brings her to places like this. She assumes his granddaughter must be quite beautiful, and they both realize the test is about to begin inside the training hall. Our boy sees that he's the only one with black hair, and the others think he might be a foreigner. Suddenly, a girl enters the hall, capturing the attention of every student, including our boy. She is none other than Abel von Nibelung, the granddaughter of the Sword Emperor and the main heroine of the game, the sole reason our boy spent a fortune on the game. The subspace was created by the ancestral hero Balor when he established the academy. It is a separate dimension where pain and damage are real, but the consequences don't carry over to reality. In this space, even taking someone down is overlooked, as there's no interference from the outside world. Siegfried and Media discuss the tradition of subspace battles. This year, they're trying something new, a battle royale format. Participants will be split into groups of 10 for a survival game with no restrictions on equipment. Siegfried notes that removing restrictions will give privileged students an unfair advantage. Media explains that a compromise was necessary since the academy is largely funded by the nobility. She had to work hard to introduce this new system. Inside the training hall, all the students start simping over the granddaughter of the Sword Emperor. Meanwhile, our boy is stunned to see her in 3D, so much more real than her in-game counterpart. While the other students are fools for trying to approach her, he admits he might have been a simp just like them, if he hadn't already known better. Having played the game, he knows Abel possesses the Miracle Blessing M, which ties her to the game's protagonist. In this world, beautiful people always seem to have someone by their side. As a special student, he feels out of place and decides to live a peaceful school life. He sets 3 principles for his future: finish his studies without any incident, secure a conventional job, and live safely. While heroes earn big bucks, just drawing his knife earlier left his body trembling. He starts looking for other comfortable jobs. While lost in thought, an announcement declares that the exam for the 783rd year of Hoken Academy has begun. The rules are explained. It's a battle royale among 10 randomly assigned cadets. The top 3 will join the prestigious Star and Dragon classes, while the bottom 3 will be relegated to the ordinary class. Class placement depends entirely on this result, with no time limit. Recognizing the setup from the game, our boy decides to finish quickly and avoid drawing his knife unless absolutely necessary. As the subspace generation device activates, the exam begins. Group after group finishes their evaluations. Media notes to Siegfried that Abel's time of 7 minutes and 14 seconds is impressive. Wanting a fair test, Abel used a C-rank weapon to achieve this result, placing her among the top 10 in Academy history. Though she couldn't break Siegfried's record, he acknowledges it as fitting for his bloodline. Preparing to leave, he dismisses the final group as unimportant, until everyone senses something strange. Then the sky shatters, and some students fall from above, along with our boy's sashimi knife. Media quickly calls for medical staff to assist the fallen students, but our boy lies on the ground, peacefully asleep. Flashback to earlier in the event. The twins of malevolence are bullying weaker students, beating them down for 30 minutes. Our boy remains unnoticed because they see him as too weak to bother with. After finishing with the others, the twins target a lone girl. One twin, licking blood from his gloves, decides to finish her off. Unable to stay silent, our boy screams at them, questioning their cruelty and calling them psychopaths. This draws their attention. Spotting his special student tag, they mock him as a lowlife. One twin approaches, threatening to rip out his tongue. Panicking, our boy scrambles for options. He considers using the blessing of painlessness, but knows 30 seconds of numbness won't save him. Then he notices his bag and draws his knife, despite the agony it causes. Seeing this, the twins laugh. One sneers, asking if he's mocking them, while the terrified girl watches in silence. The twin launches himself into the air, ready to strike. With no other choice, our boy activates the blessing of painlessness, hoping it will numb the pain. The blessing of the sword god activates. The twin mocks the small, pathetic knife, but Kang knows this is a person, not a fish. He recalls asking his master if a sashimi knife could ever cut a person. His master had replied that such things only happen in movies, but then Kang remembers the skill's effect. It will cut if you slash. With a precise swing, Kang slices the twin's arm clean off midair. The system flashes a notification. May the blessing of the gods be with you. In his previous life, Kang recalls asking his boss why gangsters use sashimi knives. His boss, irritated by the question, throws the knife at him and clarifies that he should refer to him as master, not boss. Curious, our boy presses on, explaining his fascination. Kang explained his reasoning. A wide chef's knife causes the skin to contract, making it hard to withdraw, while a sashimi knife, being narrow, allows for multiple stabs and easy retraction. However, sashimi knives are primarily used for slicing fish, and wondered why they couldn't be used the same way on people. Exasperated, his master explained, fish lie flat. If they were standing, you wouldn't even be able to slice bread in one go. Our boy is disappointed because in manga, it always looks like a clean slice every time. He assumes his boss simply lacks the skill, but his master smacks the shit out of him, tells him to call him master, and makes it clear that even if the god of knives appeared, it wouldn't work that way. Back in the subspace, our boy manages to slice the bully's arm clean off in one strike. Everyone, including the bully, is in shock. The bully screams in pain, cries for help, and tries to run, begging his brother to save him. But Kang, showing no mercy, delivers a clean strike that severs his head. The older twin sees this horror and screams, calms himself, because in void space, his brother isn't truly dead. He picks up his brother's weapon, amplifying his defense and jumping power, and prepares to face Kang. Confident in his 3 A-rank blessings, privileges, and he launches himself to strike. For a moment, Kang blinds him with his movements. When the twin regains his sight, he sees multiple knives lodged in his body. He looks at Kang, who still holds the sashimi knife. In a final breath, the twin mutters, "Black Ghost," before collapsing. The blessing of painlessness ends, and Kang feels the full backlash of his actions. Overwhelmed by pain, he loses consciousness. Kang wakes up in a hospital bed. As he rises, a man with a long nose announces the student has regained consciousness. To his surprise, Kang sees the 2 7-star heroes, Siegfried and Media, standing before him. Media asks our boy about his health. Confused, Kang wonders why they're here. Siegfried wastes no time and demands to know what Kang did during the exam and about the strange sensation everyone felt earlier. Kang realizes it wasn't just his imagination, it really was him. Noticing Siegfried ready to draw his sword, Kang explains that while it was a pocket dimension, the actions of the other students went too far. He states he is ready to accept any punishment without complaint. Media intervenes, asking Siegfried why he's treating a student so harshly. She reveals that while Kang was unconscious, it was Siegfried who unblocked his blood vessels, saving him. She pleads, "Give him a break for my sake." Media's words fluster Siegfried, who turns into a Lego man. Kang, now feeling as light as a feather, realizes the treatment has restored his body. Media explains that while he was unconscious, they reviewed the footage of the subspace battle, including the moment when he threw himself to protect a pitiful female student, and she thirsts even more and calls him the prince she's always dreamed of. and starts flirting with him while the old man decides to stop and asks Media to show some dignity. She reassures Kang that no repercussions will arise from his actions and reveals that the twins only got into the academy by licking the boots of the elders. They will be withdrawn from the academy, much to Kang's relief. Finally, Media and Siegfried inform Kang that he is the top scorer in the exam, which shocks our boy. While they congratulate him, Kang realizes he's back to square one. So much for living a peaceful life. After some time, in an office building, Media says it's been 20 years since she became the head of the academy, and she has never heard anything like that before. In a flashback, our boy rejects the offer to promote to star class, shocking both Siegfried and Media. Confused, Media asks Kang if he understands what it means to be in star class, wondering if she heard him correctly. She explains that while the elders were furious, this decision was determined directly by the subspace itself. Kang pauses for a moment before replying that despite everything, he still doesn't like it, further shocking both of them. Returning to the present, Media asks Siegfried if he is upset that Kang took the top spot instead of his granddaughter. Siegfried, having seen the footage himself, replies that there is nothing more foolish than questioning the judgment of the subspace. He acknowledges that Kang's skills were outstanding and showed a level of sword mastery beyond expectations. When Siegfried unlocked Kang's blocked meridians, he felt something that shouldn't be there, yet somehow it was. While he is deep in thought, Media suddenly starts simping for our boy, saying that if she were 10 years younger, but then she quickly adds that she could still do it now. She then asks Siegfried for his opinion, to which he responds, "Do you know what students call a girl like you these days?" Curious, Media asks him to continue, and Siegfried drops the B word, instantly pissing her off. Later on, our boy heads to his class, thinking that this is the best compromise he could have made. Media promoted him to a class higher than Tiger class, but told him to keep it a secret. He wonders if he could have just laid low instead of getting caught up in some power struggle. As he enters the class, all the students glance at him, but the moment they see Kang's green name tag, they immediately lose interest and go back to chatting. Kang is surprised that he was completely ignored, which means the headmaster managed to keep everything under wraps. He thinks this might actually be a good thing. At that moment, a red-haired girl approaches Kang and thanks him for saving her back then, leaving Kang speechless. She then reminds him about the subspace incident. Hearing this, Kang wonders why she is using formal language when they are the same age. Our boy tells her there's no need to thank him since anyone would have done the same in that situation. However, the red-haired girl replies, "That's not true." In his mind, Kang thinks that it seemed like he saved her, but in reality, he was just trying to survive. He then points out that they haven't introduced themselves yet, so he goes first. The red-haired girl then introduces herself as Chloe. Our boy responds, "Nice to meet you, Chloe." Kang hadn't expected them to be in the same class. Internally, he wonders who Chloe is, as he had played through most of the game, but doesn't recognize this character. As far as he knows, the later stages of the main story focus on the battle with the demon tribe, so it's unexpected to see a new character appearing at this time. Finally, Kang realizes that Chloe, like him, might just be a background character. Kang asks Chloe if she can keep what happened during the exam a secret, and Chloe replies, "Of course." Just as Chloe was about to say something else, the teacher enters the classroom. Oh, it's the same guy who inspected our boy's weapon. He introduces himself as the instructor of the wolf class and congratulates the students on their admission, encouraging them to be proud of this achievement. Since it's the first day, Instructor Lee announces that they will begin with some simple physical training. He instructs the students to change into their training clothes and gather at the training ground within 30 minutes. One of the students asks about the training course, which consists of a simple routine: 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, followed by 10 laps around the training ground. I think bro follows Saitama's training, and the only thing missing is eating a banana. Our boy immediately thinks the instructor is training all the cadets into becoming bald-headed, cape-wearing heroes. Trying to escape this one-punch man training, he asks the instructor for a break, claiming he is feeling sick, which is a classic move that works in real life. I did it in my school days. However, the instructor shuts him down, reminding him that he is the star of the class and that the headmaster gave him permission to attend all classes. Our boy thinks, "Damn that old hag," and asks for permission to use the restroom to unload his load, but the instructor gaslights him, saying, "See you in the training ground." At the training ground, our boy feels exhausted from all the running. All the other students are ahead of him, and Kang feels like he is about to pass out. Chloe approaches him and asks if he's okay. Our boy weakly asks what lap they're on, and she replies, 5. Then she casually mentions that she's already on her 9th lap and cheers him on to do his best before suddenly dashing ahead like Usain Bolt, leaving our boy completely shit-faced. Later, in his dorm, our boy downs an entire crate of water and lies down in his bed, feeling hungry. Facing an unexpected problem, he goes to buy some food at the counter, only to find they accept only meal tickets. He decides to buy a ticket, but sees the prices. And I gotta say, what the hell are they cooking there for these kinds of prices? He finishes his last drop of water, curses the insane prices, and decides to sleep instead of worrying about his hunger. He calls himself an idiot for not accepting money from his parents earlier. Then, a blessing window pops up, showing his physical stats have increased to 12. He thinks it's not a waste of time, as he's now rocking that sleeper build with a lot more muscle. He wonders if the blessing of the sword god has cleared his blood vessels. At this rate, Kang thinks it's almost like an evolution. However, the blessing of the sword god still hasn't fully expanded, and if he keeps improving step by step, he might be able to handle a short sword soon. Looking at the Sashimi sword, our boy recalls being terrified of holding a sword during the entrance ceremony. Now, if he's not holding one, his hands itch, probably because of the blessing. He feels proud of himself. Suddenly, Kang hears a knock on his door. He asks who it is, and upon opening it, he's surprised to see Chloe standing there. She asks if she's disturbing his rest. Our boy replies that he was just lying down and asks what's up. Chloe explains that she hasn't seen him in the campus cafeteria all week and was worried he might not be feeling well. He tells her that he usually doesn't eat food made by others, though in his mind, he admits he's starving and would eat anything made by others. Chloe invites him to dinner, and without hesitation, he agrees. He's relieved that he doesn't need to starve or go dumpster diving. Later, in Chloe's dorm, she thanks him for cooking so quickly. She only boiled fish and never expected food to taste like this. Kang checks the fridge and finds it filled with fish. He asks Chloe if she really likes fish, to which she replies that she does, as she's from a seaside area. As he starts to cook, the only problem is the blessing of the sword god. Our boy asks Chloe if she has a longer knife. She pulls out a katana, which makes him use the blessing, and he finishes the dish in just 21 seconds. Chloe is impressed by Kang's skills, while our boy thinks to himself that it felt like a masterpiece. Chloe asks how he cooks so well, and Kang replies that he used to work part-time at a Japanese restaurant. This is the first time Chloe's heard of part-time jobs. She looks confused, and Kang asks if she doesn't know about part-time work. Chloe apologizes, but Kang tells her there's no need to. In his mind, he reflects on the disparity in their backgrounds. Anyway, Kang says he's glad she enjoyed the meal. Chloe then tells him that since he made the meal, she'll take care of the dishes. Kang thanks her and says he'll leave the dishes to her. He then goes to look at the moon, feeling full and satisfied. However, he notices that Chloe has gotten water all over her uniform. Observing her, he wonders if she's ever washed dishes. Then, a diary falls from Chloe's desk. Inside, he sees it's written that someone helped her during the class placement test, and she feels she must repay him. Kang thinks it's cute, but when he turns the next page, he sees the entire pages filled with "I love him." Our boy freezes, but before he can close the book, Chloe sees him holding it. We get a flashback of Chloe's past. Her family trains assassins from a young age, and she was trained to be a cold-blooded killer. She enrolled in the academy to stay out of sight and remain hidden, until she met Kang, who stood up for her. She remembers him using his sword skills to save her. During her childhood, she had secretly hidden a fairy tale about a princess trapped in a castle and a prince's love. Now, seeing Kang, she blushes, thinking this is love. And that's how an yandere is born. Back at the dorm, Chloe stares at Kang with a yandere look. Our boy thinks he's done for. He says the dinner was good and tries to leave, but Chloe asks if he saw what was written in the diary. Our boy says she really studies hard, and Chloe pulls out her katana, shocking him. He doesn't understand what's going on. Looking out the window, he realizes they're on the 4th floor, and if he jumps, he'll become a pancake. The only exit is behind Chloe, and he's trapped. Chloe starts to move closer with her yandere aura. Our boy notices she's unconscious, and seems to have a rough idea about such things. Seeing her dead pupils, he's sure Chloe is a yandere, with her fierce, energetic attitude being a split personality. Her yandere side is already overwhelming. He thinks opening the diary triggered this personality change, and considers it dangerous, as Chloe will probably chase him until he dies. With only 9 seconds left on his painlessness skill, he notices the sashimi knife, but realizes it's too far away. Chloe gets ready to strike, so he grabs a box cutter, activating the blessing of the sword god. He faces her head on and says her hair needs a trim, making a slash. After a while, Chloe wakes up in her bed with her hair trimmed, wondering where Kang went. She recalls that he was looking out the window while she was doing the dishes. She remembers sneaking a glance at him, and then realizes her katana is missing. Fortunately, she spots it beside her bed and feels a sense of relief. Chloe notes that she tends to lose consciousness when handling a katana. She starts feeling embarrassed, her face flushing red as she wonders if she did something strange while unconscious. Spotting the box cutter on the floor, she questions what it's doing there. Upon further reflection, Chloe notices that her hair is shorter and considers that the box cutter may have been used to cut it. Finally, she notices that Kang has tidied up, and when she sees her cut hair in the bin, she feels a bit yandere. She writes, "I love you," in her diary, before she forgets. The scene shifts outside, where our boy spits out rainbow and feels glad he finished before the blessing ended. But he throws up everything he ate and feels hunger creep back. He thinks he got lucky with Chloe because if he'd been ambushed, he would have been dead. In the end, he only managed to cut her hair and escape, doing a quick cleanup afterward. He reflects on how, when he was thrown into this game, he had no ambitions. For someone like him, who's good with sashimi knife skills, there are only 2 other legendary blessings, and the protagonist gets an OP sword, while our boy can only use sashimi knives. Moreover, since entering the academy, his continuous encounters with unrealistic figures and situations have made him forget his goal. Kang thinks he has stopped for various reasons. Come to think of it, isn't there even a single ordinary person in this world? He has a vague understanding of the game. It's been just over a week since he entered the academy, and according to the story, the main character's blessing should be activating around now as they're finishing enrollment. This means the real story is about to start. Kang seems to know the general plot, but he hasn't seen the ending. Of course, knowing the official story up to the midpoint is an advantage. Whatever happens, Kang decides to follow the official route. If everything gets mixed up, it'll just waste whatever merits remain. If Kang's memory serves him right, the story darkens significantly from the second semester of the 3rd year. The birth of a hero and the demon race will unify their forces under demon lords and threaten the academy. The conflict between demons and humanity will eventually escalate into a world war. Following the typical fantasy plot, all the characters will die, and Kang gets pissed off, deciding to delete the game. With that thought in mind, what's even more chilling is that this terrible war is supposed to happen in this world, and Kang wonders if he will die too. But then he realizes there are still nearly 3 years left, so now he needs a more realistic goal than ever. Kang decides to get stronger, and if the mass-produced game narratives have a happy ending, the world will likely be saved by the protagonist. However, Kang needs power to protect himself. He can't live with the fate of potentially dying at any moment due to the war. Therefore, Kang should train himself to survive without drawing too much attention. If he stands out, there's a chance he'll be forced to fight the demon army, something he intends to avoid. Additionally, Kang needs to be cautious about using the blessing of painlessness, as the burden on his body is too great. Then, a status window opens up, showing that his performance is impressive, but it also contains a lot of new information. Physical rank, mental rank, weapon rank. The numbers appear to represent levels and ranks, but this detailed info is something Kang doesn't fully understand. As he clicks on it, a notification pops up. Access denied. Kang brushes it off, thinking it's not important right now. He realizes that he needs a new weapon, though. He can't rely solely on the blessing of painlessness for 30 seconds indefinitely. He also needs to train with swords that don't meet the conditions for the sword god's blessing. Fortunately, next month there will be a practical combat training session replacing the midterm exams, and the reward is a B-class weapon. If Kang can handle it, it will be enough for graduation. While thinking about that, Abel approaches from behind and tells Kang that it's her spot. Our boy is shocked to see her, but shifts aside. He can't believe he's seeing his waifu in real life and blanks out. Kang thinks that it's her spot, but aren't the benches public property? He considers that if he gets involved with the heroine, the main story will definitely become complicated. He then sees her in close-up and thinks, damn, she's pretty. Abel says the stars are beautiful tonight, but we all know our boy says something even more beautiful just now. She asks if his weapon is also a sword. Kang asks Abel how she knows that, and she replies that her grandfather told her. She also heard that sword masters have a different look in their eyes. Kang blushes, meeting her gaze, and Abel asks if he wants to try holding her sword. Kang replies that the sword doesn't feel heavy at all, but he's surprised to see Abel sulking. Kang thinks that Abel is difficult to get used to, and wonders if this is really the Abel he knows. Then Abel asks if Kang knows her. Kang wonders if Abel suspects him and responds, more or less. However, Abel shakes her head. I don't know you. In his mind, our boy questions what Abel's point is. She continues, saying, it's rather weird for you to know my name while I don't know yours. Kang asks if he really needs to introduce himself to someone he just met. Abel replies, one can never be too sure. You could be a spy for the Demon King, infiltrating the academy as a student for all I know. She also suggests there's no good reason for Kang to be out alone this late at night. Both of them exchange serious looks, and Kang thinks this is going nowhere. Our boy asks Abel why she's out here. Abel responds, isn't it obvious? I'm here to exercise and train. Kang tells her that he's been exercising too. Abel asks him what kind of exercise, and with a straight face, our boy replies, breathing. Abel thinks it's weird, but as Kang looks at her hands, he notices the marks of intense training. Seeing Kang's gaze, Abel quickly hides her hands, but our boy tells her that she's very diligent. Abel responds, of course I am, explaining that she needs to be perfect all the time to uphold her bloodline's reputation. She then admits that this is the first time she's ever lost, but instead of frustration, she felt relieved and wanted to know the person who defeated her. She wanted to find out who they were so she could crush them next time. Our boy is stunned to hear this and asks if she really has to go that far. Abel firmly replies, it's a matter of pride. She goes on to explain that she kept asking her grandfather for details, but he told her that the top student wasn't even in her class. To make matters worse, the top student had the nerve to skip the oath ceremony. After calming down, Abel reflects, I'm sharing all of this with someone I don't even know. Kang asks Abel why she's telling him all this. Abel simply responds, because you're weak. She further explains that the motto of her family is to be firm with the strong and merciful to the weak. Abel adds that all her classmates are exceptional at what they do, so she doesn't have any friends. Hearing this, Kang thinks this must be why the main character is so distant. Abel then tells Kang that she's going to turn in for the night. Hearing this, Kang says his goodbye. Abel sits quietly for a moment before asking, are you really not going to tell me your name? Our boy simply replies, no. The scene shifts to Kang's classroom, where he sits alone, reflecting on how his life at the academy is much calmer than he had anticipated. Chloe has already blended into the class, making friends with ease, while Kang is busy avoiding eye contact and trying not to run into her. Whenever their gazes meet, Chloe's new friends glare at him with icy looks, but our boy couldn't care less about them. He's not the only unique one in the Tiger class, though. Despite being in the same class, most students are reluctant to interact with each other, as if holding on to a sense of entitlement. Thinking about it, Kang notes that it's actually a good thing not to be in the upper class, especially since this is the season when the Star and Dragon classes start forming political factions. Even back when he played this game, those students always felt like clowns. Just the thought of being in that class now makes Kang dizzy. But at least he's eating well, and that's what matters. He wonders what he should eat today. We see that media gave Kang a card for daily use, a perk for being the top student. She also apologized for the delay, explaining that it's actually a faculty member's card. Eating 3 times a day, Kang felt pure bliss. Now, he's just living life as Kang, fulfilling his duties as a student faithfully without significantly impacting the main scenario. He resolves to spend the next 3 years like this. If he can manage that, he believes he can achieve the future he's imagined. The scene then shifts to the next classroom, where the teacher gives a history lesson about the hero who defeated the Demon King's right-hand man and emerged victorious. However, he injured his arm and could no longer participate in battle. The war had no clear victor, but fortunately, the humans and demons reached a truce, leading to the establishment of the academy to nurture future generations. The teacher continues, explaining that the first human-demon war led to the signing of the non-aggression treaty between the two parties, ushering in an era of peace that has lasted for the past 700 years. Hearing this, students begin chatting about whether there will be a war in their their generation. Meanwhile, Kang thinks to himself that he's the only one aware that the first crack in this so-called peace is not far off. It's unnatural for everyone to be so accustomed to this serenity. As much as he'd like to warn media, he is uncertain of the future. Although she does not hide her desire to leave her position as dean as soon as possible, she was the first person in the story to sense the abnormality. She was also the first of the 7 heroes to step up and protect the students. While Kang didn't play much of the game, he did look it up and found that Media was the first hero to be taken down by the Demon King. He thinks that if only he didn't know that, then maybe things would feel normal. The teacher then informs the students that's all for today and reminds them to study hard for the exam in 2 weeks. As class ends, students rush outside together. Seeing them, Kang wonders what's happening, then realizes it must be that time. Today is the 5th of May. Kang steps outside, thinking that if his memory serves him correctly, today marks the enrollment of the world's main character, Leon, and with him, the 700 years of peace will soon end. Kang reflects on the protagonist, Leon, who is one of those overpowered main characters that gets all the girls, including the 3 main heroines. Even Leon's party members are impressive, and Kang knows that in 3 years, Leon, blessed by miracles, will be one of the first to be drafted. In reality, drafted is just a nicer way of putting it. Kang refuses to go through that again. By the way, even Valor was only able to seal the 1st Legion commander, which makes Kang wonder just how powerful the Demon King truly is. But he knows this isn't some insane story where the protagonist loses. Just then, Leon looks at Kang and smiles, surprising him. Kang reflects on the power of the blessing of miracles and assumes that Leon, as the protagonist, will be able to handle things on his own. Our boy notices that Leon has a trustworthy face and, without realizing it, finds himself convinced. The scene then shifts to the training hall, where Kang practices with a wooden sword. After a few swings, he realizes that deviating from the standard technique means the blessing doesn't manifest. He needs a certain level of skill in swordsmanship to make use of it. Just then, Chloe approaches him and asks if she made a mistake. Surprised, Kang wonders when she arrived. He tells her nothing happened, but Chloe presses, "Really?" Our boy keeps his answer vague to avoid another yandere episode, and Chloe feels relieved. Kang, however, wonders about Chloe's true identity. She had been able to wield a sword even while unconscious, a blade filled with sorrow, yet still imbued with killing intent. It made her all the more dangerous. Chloe then asks Kang if she can invite him to dinner that night, wanting to repay him. Of course, she's not as skilled in cooking as he is, and as Kang thinks about dinner, he gets PTSD from what happened last time. However, seeing Chloe's hopeful puppy dog face, he hesitates. It feels awkward to refuse, but if he accepts, he might get into trouble again. Then, he comes up with an idea. Instead of dinner, he asks Chloe for a favor. He wants her to teach him swordsmanship. Hearing this, Chloe is happy and eagerly asks what he needs. A few moments later, Kang, holding a wooden sword, thinks that he needed a swordsmanship teacher anyway, and Chloe is frighteningly strong. He wonders if this is a good excuse, considering that since that day he makes sure to watch How to Survive a Yandere before bed. Inside the training hall, Chloe asks when Kang arrived, mentioning that she had been waiting for him over there. He replies that he just got here and asks about her. Chloe says she also just arrived. Suspicious, Kang asks for the time, and Chloe tells him it's around 6:30. He reminds her that they agreed to meet at 8, and Chloe simply smiles. As Kang looks at her outfit, Chloe asks if something's wrong, but in his mind, he notes how ripped she is when not in uniform. No wonder she's so strong. Kang hands Chloe a wooden sword, and as she takes it, she asks why they aren't using real swords. Kang says they should use wooden ones to avoid injuries. Chloe smiles and calls him kind. As she swings the wooden sword, Kang is stunned to see her aura manifesting even through the wooden weapon. He wonders just how strong Chloe's aura is. Gripping his wooden sword, he decides to be careful. Suddenly, a status window opens, and Kang confirms whether he can use the wooden sword without activating the blessing. He sees that the sword's specifications are fine and his physical growth is steady, but he wonders if the blessing normally has additional effects like this. He doesn't recall it working this way before. Observing Kang standing still, Chloe asks if something is wrong. Kang apologizes and reminds her that today is his first time practicing swordsmanship. so she should go easy on him. Chloe agrees, and Kang gets ready, signaling the start of their sparring session. As they face each other, Kang reflects on his practical approach. In his past life, he believed that seeing is believing. To become a master in any field, hard work alone isn't enough. His quick adaptation to the academy is also a product of all the knowledge he has absorbed. Chloe gathers her aura and charges at Kang with full speed. He barely dodges, surprised at how fast she is. He told her to take it easy, but she seems to be in a league of her own. She strikes again, and Kang blocks it, but her strength is incredible, barely managing to hold his ground. He tries to counterattack, but Chloe jumps into the air and prepares to strike again. Her speed increases even more. Kang braces himself and takes the hit head-on, but Chloe doesn't stop. She relentlessly strikes from different angles, pushing Kang back. Her strikes are extraordinarily heavy, and if this keeps up, he might get seriously injured. As Kang reaches his limit, he struggles to find an opportunity to counterattack, but then his wooden sword breaks in half. Seeing this, Chloe apologizes, saying she meant to go easy, but ended up breaking his weapon. At that moment, Kang's broken sword meets the conditions for the blessing of the sword god, and the blessing activates. Our boy loses control. His expression twists into something terrifying. He looks like a serial killer. Chloe backs off, unable to understand what is happening. She asks Kang if he is okay, but he doesn't respond. His consciousness fades. In his mind, he finds himself back in his old kitchen. A fish lies on the cutting board, and he contemplates which knife to use. But the system interrupts him, saying he can't choose. Instead, it tells him to just do what you do best, and presents his sashimi knife. The system asks how he feels, and Kang replies, "It feels perfect." The system reassures him, "Just leave everything to me." Back in reality, the system activates heat. Chloe asks if Kang is okay, but he slowly walks toward her, and then suddenly charges with full force. Stunned, Chloe barely manages to block his strike, but he is now stronger than before. The force of his attack pushes her back, slamming her into the wall. Kang seems like a completely different person. He wastes no time and attacks again, exuding a murderous aura. Chloe, though confused, realizes she must stop the match. Chloe calls out his name in desperation. Inside Kang's mind, he's still in the kitchen, trying to slice the fish. But every time he tries, it dodges. Frustrated, he wonders why it's so noisy. Then, suddenly, he hears Chloe's voice calling his name. Back in reality, Kang's wooden sword is embedded in the wall, just inches away from Chloe. Snapping back to his senses, our boy takes a deep breath and says, "Let's stop here for today." Chloe, despite everything, simps for him, finding him sweet. She asks if he's okay. Kang thanks her for helping with his practice and decides to head in first. Later that night, Chloe walks to her dorm, reflecting on Kang. Ever since the class assignment test, she has noticed that his skills are not just raw strength, but something eerie. It's not just his abilities, but his instincts. Even though the blessing manifested unconsciously, Chloe realizes she is no match for Kang, especially with a half-training sword. She always knew he was strong, but she never expected this. At that moment, a masked figure appears. It's her brother, Nox. He tells Chloe that she seems to be enjoying herself. Chloe's expression darkens. She asks him why he is here. Nox coldly questions her, asking if this is what she has been doing at the academy, mingling with lowly people. Chloe tells him not to refer to Kang that way. Nox scoffs, acknowledging Kang's name before warning that if she continues associating with him, the Auditor family will eliminate him. But Chloe walks past Nox, confidently stating, even if the entire Auditor family comes for him, they won't be able to handle Kang. The scene then shifts to our boy, who reflects that he needs to clarify something. The power he has been granted is not some divine blessing or favor. Rather, it seems more like a curse. To avoid relying on the blessing of the sword god, our boy sets out to find new equipment. But that power seems to mock his efforts, following him like a shadow, waiting to take control. While Kang feels no pain, he experiences a strange, debilitating sensation that seems to go on endlessly. That curse manipulates him like a marionette, bound by invisible threads. Kang surrenders completely to the voice that whispers sweet, twisted words to him. Destroy more. Chloe's scream, filled with desperation, calls out the name that our boy has come to recognize as his own. In that cry, the fragments of his world are brought back together. Our boy throws away the training sword that had clung to him like his own skin, realizing that if he doesn't detach from it now, he will lose himself forever, until Chloe pulls him back into reality. Our boy feels a mix of irritation and gratitude. The sword god's blessing isn't something he can control. It's a curse disguised as power. Kang is just an outsider cast into this world. He didn't wish for much, just to live a normal life. He believed he could handle a few incidents as they came, but now he realizes there's something within his body, something trying to consume his reason. This was never a blessing. Rather, it was a curse solely intended to devour Kang, the art of the reverse heavens. After 3 days, in the classroom where all the students have gathered, we see Chloe chatting with her friend. Ever since the day she trained with Kang, our boy hasn't been seen. It has now been 3 days, and Chloe even went to his room to check on him, but all she heard were sounds of pain from inside. She finds herself missing the way Kang would sit in class, deep in thought, resting his chin on his hand. She's lost count of how many times she watched him like that. At first, she thought she had fallen for Kang because he saved her life, but maybe that was just an excuse, because right now, she truly misses him. The scene then shifts to the next day in the classroom, where Instructor Lee instructs everyone to keep quiet. He announces that today's training has been replaced with self-study due to the rain. He notes that Kang still hasn't shown up, but assumes our boy must have his reasons and trusts that he will return. Just as he tells the students to begin their self-study, the classroom door suddenly opens. Instructor Lee turns to see who it is, and he is shocked. It's Kang. As Kang walks down the stairs to his seat, Chloe is surprised to see him too. There's something different about him. Our boy, now carrying a new aura, apologizes to Instructor Lee. Seeing the change in Kang's presence, Lee says it's fine, and tells him to take his seat. As Kang settles in, the students in the class begin to whisper among themselves, the girls murmuring that he looks even more handsome than before. The scene then shifts to after class, where Chloe approaches Kang and asks if something happened to him. Our boy simply replies that he had a severe fever over the past few days and thanks her for worrying about him. Chloe blushes upon hearing that and says she's glad to hear he's okay. But in reality, over the past few days, our boy has been suffering from the backlash of the sword god's blessing. He couldn't eat. He locked himself in his room and he prayed for the pain to stop, but it didn't. The pain was worse than anything he had ever experienced. His hair and body structure began to change rapidly. This was the penalty of using the sword god blessing. In the present, Kang notices that Chloe seems to feel guilty, likely because she was the last person he fought. Wanting to ease her mind, he invites her to dinner. Chloe is surprised, but quickly says, "Of course," but then Kang adds that he wants to eat her cooking. Chloe happily agrees and says she'll cook whatever he wants. She then asks what he'd like to eat. Kang replies that he hasn't had fish in a while and recalls that the last time he had fish was at Chloe's dorm, but he couldn't eat it because it was too expensive. At that moment, Kang senses something behind him. He turns to see what he was sensing, and it turns out to be Chloe's brother, Nox. Chloe is shocked to see him. Seeing her reaction, Kang asks if she knows him, but Chloe remains silent. Our boy then walks straight toward Nox and says, "If you have something to say, then say it." He warns him not to keep glaring at him, but Nox continues to stare, his eyes filled with the same aura as Chloe's. Then, Chloe steps in and tells her brother not to come here. Hearing this, Kang realizes that Nox is Chloe's brother. He also notices that Chloe seems a bit scared of him. Nox scoffs and says that Kang doesn't seem strong. He then asks Chloe if she's sure she wants to be with someone like him, even if it means breaking the Auditor family's rules. Frustrated, Chloe replies that whether it's about the Auditor family or anything else, it's no longer her concern. Nox, unimpressed, coldly tells her that she is bound to the family and a slave to it. Meanwhile, Kang watches this scene unfold and thinks to himself, what the hell is this brother-sister K-drama? Nox then tells Chloe to leave this scammer behind and come back to the family. But Chloe, furious, shouts at him, "Do not call Kang like that." Kang sighs, noting that Chloe should lower her killing intent. He's thankful that all the students have already left for lunch. Observing the situation, Kang finally understands everything. The Auditor is an organization of shadows specializing in infiltration and assassination. They appear later in the game, and they are ridiculously strong. Now, he realizes that Chloe comes from the Auditor family. Looking at Nox, our boy recognizes the face of someone used to killing. And now, everything makes sense. The Auditor family likely eliminates anyone who threatens their order in order to maintain control. Kang then looks at Chloe, who is trembling. He realizes that all she wants is to live a normal life, but just like his own connection to the blessing of the sword god, Chloe was born into a family of killers, a place that won't allow her to live peacefully, a life where she is constantly forced to kill like a machine. It must be unbearable. Kang knows he is no hero. He may not be able to save the world, but even so, he can at least change one girl's life. Stepping forward, Kang tells Chloe not to worry. He then turns to Nox and says, "Follow me. I will rip out your dirty tongue today." The scene then shifts to the staff room, where Instructor Lee is deep in thoughts. He senses something strange about Kang, noticing that his face seemed stripped of all emotion. Just then, another instructor enters and jokes that Lee's head looks even more bald today. Lee, annoyed, simply replies, "Don't mess with bald people." But before he can say anything else, he receives a call. Answering the phone, Instructor Lee is informed that a student has requested access to the subspace. Shocked, he asks for the student's identity and their opponent. He falls silent when he hears the response. The student requesting access is Kang, and his opponent is Nox. The scene shifts to a quiet room where our boy Kang sits alone. There are still 15 minutes before the subspace duel begins, and he recalls media's warning to be cautious and take care of himself. Even though subspace doesn't affect reality and no physical damage carries over, the mental toll is real. As he listens to the noise from the waiting room, Kang finds it ironic. He had been trying to lay low, yet here he was, about to fight a duel. Meanwhile, next to him, Chloe is bawling her eyes out. Kang looks at her and thinks she must be blaming herself for this. He reassures her, telling her not to worry. After all, she lent him her weapon, so everything will be fine. But Chloe, still anxious, warns Kang that her brother is strong. Our boy simply responds that he is strong as well. However, Chloe explains that Nox isn't just strong, he's a genius, possessing unparalleled talent in the history of the Auditor family. He is also a master of the dark arts. Hearing this, Kang internally cringes, wondering who comes up with such chunibyo names. Still, Kang knows there are always consequences to his actions, and somehow they always lead him to wielding a sashimi knife. Just then, an announcement calls for the duelists to enter the training arena. Kang waves Chloe goodbye, but she still feels guilty. Seeing this, he tells her, "There are many geniuses in this world, but in the end, I'll be the one to win this duel." As Kang steps into the arena, the students erupt into loud cheers, impressed that he actually showed up instead of ditching the duel. Our boy can't help but think this feels like a Roman gladiator match. Then, he spots the main cast of the game, including Abel and Leon, watching from the audience. He wonders if they don't have anything better to do because this is about to get awkward. Meanwhile, Nox is pissed that Kang is ignoring him. His irritation only grows when he sees the weapon Kang brought to the fight. He scoffs, demanding to know how Kang dares to challenge him with such a pitiful weapon. But our boy simply smirks and says, "A true master never blames his equipment." This pisses Nox off even more, and he immediately unleashes his aura. Kang takes note. Nox is wielding not one, but two S-rank weapons. On top of that, he's using one of the best blessings in the game, the Blessing of the Crow. Now, for the first time, our boy feels Nox's true killing intent. Kang acknowledges that while Nox has S-rank equipment, he is also prepared for this. The duel begins. Kang and Nox charge at each other with full force. Kang manifests the painlessness blessing, and the sword god's blessing activates. Outside the subspace, the students watching the match are stunned. They can't even see Nox and Kang's movements. The two are striking at each other at incredible speed, neither of them slowing down. Meanwhile, in the audience, Rachel comments to Abel that things are getting interesting. Abel, who had originally thought Kang was weak, is now surprised to see him fighting against an S-rank opponent. Back in the duel, Nox finds an opening and uses his special technique to land a decisive strike. However, Kang dodges at the last second, leaving behind an afterimage. Nox is stunned. He never expected Kang to dodge that attack. The other students whisper in disbelief, realizing just how strong both fighters are. But Nox loses it. He's enraged that even after using the blessing of the crow, Kang dodged his attack like it was nothing. His frustration fuels him, and he decides to use even more powerful strikes to cover a wider area. But then, Kang drops one of his sashimi knives. Nox, confused, demands, "What the hell are you doing?" Our boy takes a stance, pointing the rose blade toward Nox. Seeing this, Nox's anger boils over. He thinks Kang is mocking him. A commoner like him dares to look down on him. Enraged, he begins gathering his aura, preparing to unleash his most powerful attack. He starts monologuing about how Kang will regret this, but before he can even finish his sentence, Kang moves. With God's speed, our boy flashes forward and blinds Nox. In that moment, Kang realizes something. No matter how much he tries to resist, the sword god's blessing is always there, controlling him. This power is like a curse, one he cannot escape. So, if running from it isn't an option, then he'll embrace it. The audience is dead silent. Even Leon, one of the main characters, is stunned by our boy's power. As the duel reaches its conclusion, Kang finally makes a decision. Curse or blessing, it doesn't matter anymore. He will use whatever power he has, and with that, he says goodbye to his peaceful life. The whole arena is filled with smoke as the subspace barrier has been turned off, and the students in the audience are shocked by what they have just witnessed. In the arena, Nox is defeated on his knees. Abel and Rachel can't believe what they have just seen. The announcer then declares that the duel has come to an end, and the students begin talking among themselves about the match. Kang wonders if he should have expected such a reaction, but realizes there's no turning back now. After all, our boy achieved this with just a kitchen knife, one that's used for gutting fish. But when it was a person, he starts to feel uneasy, but he feels relived that both the Mao brothers and Nox were defeated in subspace. Meanwhile, Nox, who is traumatized on the ground, remains motionless, and Kang thinks he was as strong as Chloe had described. And the announcer declares the winner Kang from Tiger Class. The duel ended in just 26 seconds. The students are stunned to see that a special admission student defeated an S rank so easily. Kang, realizing there is nothing he can do about this, decides to walk this path with no hesitation. The scene shifts to the next day inside the academy, where everyone is talking about Kang and how strong he was in the duel. Meanwhile, Abel sits alone, lost in thought, thinking about yesterday's duel. She couldn't believe what she had witnessed. Kang displayed remarkable swordsmanship, using only 2 kitchen knives. Abel had always taken pride in her knowledge of swords, being the daughter of a sword master, but now she finds herself feeling hopelessly naive. She never imagined someone could be that skilled with such ordinary blades. Abel then remembers her first encounter with Kang. She realizes that the top student her grandfather mentioned is Kang, and she gets mad, not only because he is stronger than her, but also because he hid the fact that he was the top student. She gets pissed about it and slams her hands on the table. Hearing the noise, Rachel wakes up and asks Abel what's going on. Abel quickly calms down and apologizes, saying it's nothing, but Rachel still asks if something is bothering her. Abel explains that she hasn't been able to train recently, so she's feeling a bit sluggish, but Rachel presses further, pointing out that something seems off about Abel's expression. Abel pretends not to understand, but Rachel keeps asking questions. Is she hungry? Abel denies it. Did she leave her equipment at home? Does she need to go to the bathroom? Abel says it's nothing. Then Rachel asks if she's having boy trouble. Hearing that, Abel blushes, and Rachel is shocked to see her reaction. Rachel laughs, saying she didn't think Abel would be interested in romance. Abel, still blushing, insists that's not the case. Rachel then asks about the lucky man Abel seems to be thinking about. She asks if it's Leon, but Abel stares at her with a blank face. Rachel finds it odd that Abel is still apprehensive about Leon. Then Rachel asks if it could be that special student from yesterday. Abel's expression quickly changes, and seeing this, Rachel thinks she hit the jackpot. She grabs Abel's hand and says, "Let's go." Abel asks where they are headed, and Rachel replies, "To the tiger class, of course." The scene shifts to the tiger class, where Rachel confidently enters, leaving all the tiger class students shocked. And this guy is literally drooling. "What the hell, man? Get a life." As they walk forward, Abel tells Rachel they should go back, but Rachel tells her not to worry. At that moment, Rachel climbs onto a desk and makes a Superman pose. She starts looking for our boy. Then, a tiger class student approaches and warns Rachel that regardless of her status, she shouldn't be standing on the desk. That's going too far. But Rachel hits him with that charm attack, and that dude folds and calls her beautiful. Meanwhile, Abel thinks, what the hell is she doing? Then she finally spots our boy sitting with Chloe. Seeing Chloe, Rachel briefly wonders if she's our boy's girlfriend and thinks this is going to be fun. Chloe, who is simping for our boy, suddenly has her expression change when Rachel approaches Kang and gives a good blowjob in his ear. Seeing that both Chloe and Abel are stunned, Rachel confidently sits on top of Kang's desk, and our boy wakes up. And his eyes are blessed by the view in front of him. God bless his eyes. Rachel calls Kang's name and admits that she didn't know him before the subspace battle. In his mind, our boy is surprised to see Rachel and wonders what she's doing here. Then Rachel reaches out to touch Kang, trying to flirt with him, but before she can, Chloe stops her and goes full yandere mode. Chloe glares at Rachel and demands to know what the hell she's doing. As Chloe and Rachel face each other, Kang is shocked, realizing that this must be the danger his instincts had been warning him about. Chloe's personality has completely flipped, and as she pulls out a box cutter, she is becoming even more yandere. Kang thinks that if a fight breaks out, it will be the worst possible scenario. Then Abel steps in, trying to stop Rachel and asking her what she's trying to do, reminding her that this isn't their classroom. But Rachel smirks and asks, "What's the matter, Abel? Can I say hello?" She then walks over to Chloe, pats her on the head and says, "You shouldn't interrupt when the adults are talking, and it's not safe to play with sharp objects either." And Chloe loses it. She swings the box cutter at Rachel, but Rachel effortlessly stops the attack by grabbing Chloe's wrist. "You're slow," Rachel says. "I thought you were just a kid, but it seems you've got quite a short fuse." Abel steps forward, telling Rachel to cut it out, but Rachel doesn't listen and yeets Chloe away in the air. Chloe manages to regain her balance and land perfectly on her feet. The students in the class made a face like they just witnessed a goal. Meanwhile, our boy just wants to leave. We get more details on Rachel. She's a high-class student and the niece of a spear saint. She lives by her clan's motto, "Skills are useless in the face of overwhelming strength." Rachel then turns to Kang and asks if Chloe is his girlfriend. Our boy quickly replies no, and Chloe gives him that death stare. Kang clarifies that Chloe is just his friend, but in his mind, he wonders what the hell this situation even is. As he looks around, he notices that Abel is there too. Kang then asks Rachel why she and Abel came looking for him. Rachel grins and says, "It seems like Abel was interested in you and wanted to see your face." Abel immediately gets flustered and protests, "When did I ever say that?" Rachel smirks and says, "Isn't that why we came here?" Abel quickly corrects her. "You're the one who practically dragged me here." Rachel shrugs. "I thought you wanted to see Kang. That's why you followed me." Abel can't counter that and mutters, "It was a misunderstanding. I didn't ask to come here to see him." Hearing this, our boy thinks to himself that Abel should just leave. He then flatly states, "If you don't have anything else to do, then you should leave." Rachel and Abel are stunned by our boy's cold response. Rachel clings to his arm and says, "You're really an interesting guy, and I like guys like you." Our boy replies, "That's a relief to hear, but I'm far from interesting." Rachel then casually invites our boy to her dorm for some Netflix and chill, and Chloe screams, "Get away from my Kang." Hearing that, Rachel starts laughing and mocks Chloe. But before things escalate further, Abel unleashes her aura. Seeing Abel's anger, Rachel smirks and turns to Kang. "It was fun meeting you. I'll see you later." But our boy straight up says, "Don't come back." As Abel and Rachel leave, Rachel says her goodbye to Kang, and our boy finally thinks it's over. He hits the bench and immediately goes to sleep. As Rachel leaves, Abel can't help but glance back at Kang before exiting the scene. Then, the scene shifts to the corridor outside, where Rachel thinks to herself. At first, she only went to the tiger class to tease, but after seeing Kang face to face, she realized there was something different about him. His gaze was so sharp that she felt like her throat had been cut. A chill ran down her spine, just thinking about it. She now understood that Kang was definitely a step above all the students she had seen at the academy. Initially, she had no real interest in him, but now she believed she might have gained something unexpected. Her clan pulled no stops when finding outstanding warriors years as marriage partners. She thinks to herself, our boy is a precious resource. It's only natural that he's caught Abel's eye as well. Rachel then turns to Abel and casually apologizes. Abel sighs and says, you should apologize to the Tiger class students for causing that ruckus, not me. But Rachel says, it's not about that, it's about Kang. I'm not going to yield. I think Kang should prepare for child support. The scene shifts to Knox, who is in the hospital, cursing Kang. His rage is boiling over and he decides he's going to assassinate him tonight. As he storms through the hallway, he even shoves a poor patient out of the way. Knox plans to mobilize his entire clan against Kang. Once he deals with him, he'll get Chloe back. This is the perfect time to strike. He is determined to show Kang exactly what he is made of. But as he opens the door to his hospital room, he sees our boy already sitting there, casually eating an apple. Kang glances up and says, you're finally here, and Knox shits his pants, seeing him. The scene shifts to the classroom where Chloe sits alone, biting her nail. Kang notices that she seems upset, but he remembers that she was the one who pulled a box cutter on Rachel. Meanwhile, Chloe wonders if Kang likes Rachel's big assets. If he likes them big, then she must kill the big ones. Suddenly, Kang calls out to Chloe, surprising her. She quickly returns to normal and asks if he needs anything. Kang asks her how Knox is doing. Chloe pauses before replying that Knox is currently in the Academy's medical ward. Kang finds it unusual for someone to get injured in the subspace. Chloe admits she hasn't visited Knox yet, so she doesn't know much, but she heard that he was admitted despite having no visible injuries. She assures Kang that Knox should be fine and that there's no need for him to worry. However, Kang wonders Knox isn't weak enough to get traumatized that easily. He hopes that Knox isn't planning to do anything stupid. Kang then pats Chloe on the head and asks for Knox's room number, making her blush. I think our boy is finally learning the art of taming a yandere. In the present, Knox nearly shits himself upon seeing Kang sitting in his hospital room. Kang asks if he can eat the apple, but Knox wonders what's the point of asking when he's already eating it. Kang looks around the room and comments that the auditores must have some good oil money to provide such a spacious room for just one person. Knox asks how Kang got into the ward, but he nearly shits himself again upon seeing Kang reach for a knife. Knox panics, wondering if Kang is here to finish what he started, but Kang calmly begins peeling the apple, and Knox is shocked. How is he peeling it so well? Kang neatly slices the apple, places it on the table for him, and gets up to leave. Before stepping out, Kang tells Knox that if he has trouble digesting regular food, he should stick to eating fruit. Knox gets pissed and tries to pull a hidden blade in Assassin's Creed style, thinking he could take Kang down right now. But before he can act, Kang warns him. If he even thinks about doing something stupid like revenge, he will chew up the entire Auditore family. Knox falls to the ground, turning to see that Kang's aura has sliced the apple. Outside, Kang thinks that now that he has taken care of Knox, things will go smoother. He also thinks his bluff has paid off because, in reality, he can't take care of an entire clan in 30 seconds. Maybe around 10 people in that time, but he'd rather avoid unnecessary killing. Kang feels like he's getting used to life in this world. As long as Knox doesn't stir up any more trouble, he no longer needs to worry about him. However, our boy now has another problem, Rachel. He wants to avoid her as much as possible because, in the original game, she was the one who approached the main character first and even fought the main heroine, Abel, over him. Kang thinks he needs to take things slowly, especially with midterms approaching. Checking his phone, he reminds himself that he needs to lock in and get that reward, a B-rank sword. This test involves subduing a demonic monster in groups of 5. Regardless of class, the Academy places heavy emphasis on teamwork, believing that while individual skill is important, trust in comrades is even more crucial on the battlefield. Although Kang finds this setup annoying, he's fine with it as long as he finds the right teammates to carry. The monsters featured in this test are mermen, which are super gross. Even when he played the game, he thought they were disgusting. He thinks he might throw up if he sees them. At least the mermaid, pretty good to goon at. But then he recalls that in this world, mermaids are considered demonic humans and are part of the demon forces. Demonic humans are far more dangerous than demonic monsters. But thankfully, as a student, he doesn't have to deal with them. Reflecting on his time here, Kang realizes it has already already been a month since he arrived. He thinks the night is peaceful. Speaking of peace, it has been 700 years since humans and demons swore a truce. However, just as human history isn't free from war, this world has also seen many conflicts, both large and small. For example, Vasmon, the commander of the 6th Legion, once claimed he would revive the commander of the 1st Legion. Crossing the line of truce, he attacked humans. After a week of battle, humanity emerged victorious, and the 7 heroes were born. Although 3 heroes fell, neither faction wished to escalate the conflict further, and peace has continued to this day. Kang wonders if Baylor, the one who sealed the 1st Legion commander alone, was even human. Checking his calendar, he notes that humanity has only 3 years left until the 2nd Human-Demon War, but worrying about that won't change anything. Instead, he should focus on his midterms. However, he finds it annoying. He has no friends. But then he realizes he's now the most famous student at the academy. He figures he'll get a good group and ace midterms. Cut to a week later. Our boy is still alone. Not a single person has invited him. He wonders, maybe they're scared of him because of the duel. Kang notices that Chloe is also alone. He realizes she's just like him. Approaching her, he asks if she hasn't found any cadets to partner with. Chloe tells him she's still alone. Kang asks if everything is okay and what happened to the friends she had. But Chloe simply replies that it's okay as long as she has him. Kang then asks Chloe to partner up with him, though he still needs to find 3 more people. Chloe agrees immediately. In his mind, our boy knows that Chloe's capabilities are nothing to underestimate. The goal of the test is to capture as many mermen as possible within the 1-hour time limit. Our boy only has about 30 seconds. Chloe is the perfect companion. Chloe says she's excited, and Kang notices that she looks happy. Then suddenly, Rachel comes running toward him, calling his name. She cheerfully announces that she's back to play. Our boy asks her why the hell she came again. Rachel pouts and says she literally told him. Meanwhile, Chloe enters yandere mode. Seeing this, Kang immediately tells Rachel to get the hell out. He can't humor her right now. Rachel, confused, asks why Kang is being so cold to her. Our boy tells her to stop calling him by his last name, but Rachel smirks and says she can't hear shit before flopping onto his bench. She then asks if he has a group for the test. Kang says no. Rachel immediately invites Kang to join her group. Kang asks Rachel why she chose him as her partner when she could have a huge line of students gooning for her, but Rachel says that would be no fun, while Kang, on the other hand, seems like he'd make the test fun. Kang then tells Rachel that he's already teamed up with Chloe, but Rachel informs him there are 2 spots left in her group. Kang wonders why she is doing this. She must not realize that teaming up with him could risk her grades. Looking at Chloe's expression, Kang agrees to join Rachel. Rachel then says he can't back out now. Kang asks about the other group members, and Rachel replies, "Do you know Leon, right?" Hearing that, Kang thinks, motherfucker. He wonders why everything has to go to shit. Getting involved with heroines is already enough for him. At least they are good to goon at. But Leon is a whole other thing. He is the main character of the game, and Kang has zero clue how the story may change. He even tries to see if he can switch groups. But Rachel had already submitted his name on the application before she even approached him, leaving our boy pissed. He even considers pulling a knife on her. Then Chloe approaches Kang with her yandere aura and asks if something is wrong, since he hasn't looked well since Rachel left. Kang explains that he's just a bit overwhelmed by teaming up with the Star Class cadets. Chloe tells him he is the GOAT of this class and that no one is as strong as him. Our boy thinks to himself that he was the one who asked Chloe to team up with him in the first place. There's no way Kang can leave without Chloe and just hopes everything will be alright. Kang asks Chloe when and where the group meeting is. Chloe says the blonde said they are meeting at the cafe in the main building at 6. Kang suggests they should head over now, and Chloe agrees. The scene shifts to the cafe, where Chloe downs an avocado smoothie. Meanwhile, Kang wonders why they are charging 50,000 won for green soup. He drinks his espresso, but it tastes like shit because they didn't add any sugar. Since this cafe is run by an outside company, faculty cards don't work here, and our boy gets scammed. Kang decides he won't be coming back. After a while, Rachel arrives with the rest of the team. She apologizes for being late, and Kang sees Leon, but he also notices another guy with him who looks like a delinquent. Then Leon approaches him, extends his hand, and greets him. Leon tells Kang that he was impressed by what he saw in the subspace a few days earlier and feels reassured knowing Kang is part of the group for the exam. Kang thinks, This guy is acting like the perfect main character. As they sit down, Leon suggests they start with introductions, and Rachel agrees. Leon introduces himself first, saying he is the group leader and a student of the star class. He adds that he somehow ended up becoming the leader and, although he is lacking, he looks forward to working with everyone. Meanwhile, Kang wonders why his face looks so good. Rachel then mentions that since everyone already knows her, she'll pass the introductions to Batten. The orange-headed guy introduces himself as a student of the star class, specializing in speed weapons, and he likes heroes. Our boy thinks, what kind of name is that? His name reminds Kang of someone. Chloe then introduces herself, stating that she's from the Wolf class and is here thanks to Kang-kun. Hearing this, Rachel starts to smile and teases her, which pisses Chloe off. But she calms herself and politely says, it's a pleasure to meet everyone. Finally, our boy introduces himself, mentioning that he's in the same class as Chloe. After the introductions, Leon begins the presentation with a sci-fi laptop that shoots holograms. Leon explains that during lunch today, their class instructor will distribute files to the group leaders containing a map of their examination site. Leon further explains that they will be teleported to the island through a subspace gate. Though only the gate itself is subspace, the island is real, meaning students can actually be injured by the demonic beasts there. Continuing the presentation, Leon shows everyone their assigned area on the northeastern coast, where 3 groups, including theirs, will hunt the mermen on the island. However, there is a limited number of mermen available. The exam's objective is to hunt as many mermen as the limit allows. Everyone listens attentively to Leon as he ends the presentation and asks if anyone has questions. Batten says the island is known for having mermaids, which could be risky. Leon reassures him that the instructors have thoroughly researched the area in advance to ensure student safety. Chloe then asks if groups within the same zone are allowed to ambush or battle one another. Leon replies that the objective is strictly to exterminate demonic beasts, and conflict between groups would likely lead to disqualification. Chloe nods, while our boy thinks to himself that, unfortunately for Leon, their team does indeed include an assassin. Leon concludes the meeting, reminding his team members to prepare for the midterms. He also tells them to meet again tomorrow for a positioning meeting. As everyone leaves, only Leon and Kang remain. Kang realizes that since he ended up sitting in the corner, he and Leon are now the last ones left, making this feel awkward. Our boy thinks he should hurry and leave. As he stands up to go, Leon calls out to him and asks where he's from. Kang thinks to himself that he's heard a question like this before, though this time it feels fundamentally different. Looking at Leon's expression, our boy can't tell what Leon is thinking, as he could have asked him earlier when everyone was introducing themselves. But Kang thinks that question was very specific. Then Leon apologizes for asking such an odd question out of nowhere and tells Kang he is somehow similar to him. Kang wonders why he is asking this pointless question, because anyone can tell he is Korean. Leon then asks him to pretend he didn't hear anything and starts to leave the room, but Kang stops him and asks where Leon himself is from. Kang realizes he acted without thinking, and this situation could go wrong. Leon then responds that he's from Germany. Then he leaves the room. Kang thinks, what's wrong with him? After a while, Kang thinks maybe he was being paranoid. When Leon asked him that question, he thought Leon was from another world like him. Kang can't help but wonder. After all, there's no rule stating that only one person could enter this game setting. And with the blessing of the sword god active, Kang's senses felt strangely heightened. So, our boy decides to test it. Unsheathing his knife, he activates the blessing of the sword god and immediately hears a voice telling him that Leon's existence is indeed of this world. Shocked, our boy realizes he's felt this sensation before. When he activates the blessing of the sword god and concentrates, he can faintly hear a voice about Leon's existence, but it gives him a headache, and even the blessing of painlessness doesn't work. Kang is sure that the Leon he encountered today is the same Leon he played in the game, and nobody can replicate him so perfectly. He wonders if Leon really only asked that question about which country he came from. However, that doesn't explain why Leon told Kang that he couldn't help but feel our boy was similar to him. Kang even searched the wiki, but he found nothing on him. Kang then decides this will be the only time he gets involved with Leon. He thinks it's best to lock in for now. He opens the blessing window and sees he's made quite a bit of progress. Our boy's mental fortitude and armament are still the same, but Kang's physical fortitude has increased slightly due to recent training. Kang believes his armament will increase once he acquires that B-rank weapon. He also notices that his assimilation level has risen. He thinks maybe it's because he duked it out with both brother and sister. Kang is annoyed because he doesn't fully understand it himself, and it's not as if he can ask someone else about it. Then a notification appears, and Kang is shocked to see that the duration of the blessing of painlessness has increased by 10. Our boy feels happy and proud of the progress he's made through training. After a few days have passed, he trains and has meetings with his teammates, and he finally refines his sword skills. Finally, on the day of the midterm exams, Kang sees the subspace, noting how it has a completely different vibe compared to the training ground subspace. The rest of the team calls out to Kang. Our boy is surprised to see everyone's equipment is S rank. Then he sees Batten's weapon is a recorder, and Batten gets pissed and says, "What the hell are you looking at?" Rachel explains to Kang that Batten's weapon is actually one of the few S-rank pieces specialized in healing. Kang is surprised to hear this. After all, healing S-rank gear is rare, and Kang thinks it's incredible. Then, the announcer declares that the first-year midterms will now commence, and Instructor Lee says, "You can run away if you can't handle the situation," and tells the students to be safe. Leon then turns to his team, saying that it's almost time and that they should start preparing. He encourages them not to be nervous and to give their best effort. Our boy thinks that it's finally beginning. Just then, Chloe approaches Kang, and he asks her if something is wrong. Chloe asks Kang if it's strange that she feels anxious now, mentioning that she remembered mermaids can appear on the island. Our boy reassures her, saying that the instructor confirmed everything has been thoroughly checked, so there's no need to worry. Chloe nods. Instructor Lee instructs the students to get ready to enter the subspace. Kang pats Chloe's head, telling her not to worry, and Chloe thinks she will never feel worried when she is with him. Then, they enter the subspace. Our boy blacks out, but hears Chloe's voice and snaps back to reality. As he looks around, he sees everyone is terrified, and Leon is on the ground bleeding. As he looks up, he sees they are facing the boss monster, the mermaid. A few moments earlier on the island, we see everyone throwing up except our boy. Leon asks Kang why he seems fine, and our boy says that he doesn't usually get seasick. At that moment, our boy spots a merman. Kang is surprised to see it, but the merman quickly runs away. Our boy notes that the merman seems smaller than he expected and feels a bit foolish for being so serious about it. He thinks he might not even need to use his weapon, though Kang had already planned to take it easy in the rear guard position. Leon informs Kang that once they reach their assigned area, there will be fully grown merman, which are nothing like the smaller ones they've just seen, and says they need to head to the location Chloe went to scout. They move deeper into the forest and sense something. It's Chloe. She does a superhero landing right in front of our boy. Kang asks her if she had been climbing trees on her way back. Chloe confirms and says it's the best way to stay hidden. Leon then asks Chloe about the situation ahead. Chloe reports that approximately 500 meters ahead, there is a cave. As the group moves forward, they spot mermen gathered around a fire. Rachel says that there are around 50 to 60 mermaids inside. Our boy thinks to himself that if they hunt these mermen down, their team will almost certainly secure first place in the midterms. However, he also considers the risks. But in the end, the decision ultimately rests with Leon, the team leader. In a flashback, Leon assigns Kang to guard the rear against any potential threats, while Leon will lead everyone from the center, saying that the team cannot just rush in recklessly. He assures them that he will join the offense if the situation calls for it. Rachel asks Leon about her role. Leon says she will be the one to face the mermen head-on. In the present, Rachel throws her spear at the cave with max speed and blows several mermen away in a single strike. Seeing the spear, the mermen get stunned. Rachel makes a Hulk pose and rains down on them, completely destroying them. Meanwhile, Batten uses his spell to buff Rachel and restore her stamina as all the remaining mermen rush toward her, and she effortlessly takes down 25 mermen on her own. Our boy is impressed seeing Rachel's strength. Chloe unsheathes her sword and activates the blessing of a cat. She takes down several mermen in an instant with a single strike and clears the remaining remaining mermen. Both Rachel and Chloe continue to take down everything in their path. As the two approach each other, Kang thinks why they aren't stopping, and remembers that the two of them didn't like each other. As Rachel and Chloe face off, a huge merman appears and attacks. However, the two of them slice the shit out of him. Rachel says that Chloe seems a little faster than before. Chloe says she was the one who took down the merman. Both of them move to opposite sides, and our boy feels relieved to see them not duking it out. Meanwhile, Leon, having taken down a few mermen, asks Kang if he was worried about those two. Our boy replies that it turns out his concern was unnecessary. Leon and his team successfully take down all 60 mermen, and Leon suggests they move on. Watching him, our boy thinks about Leon's decisiveness and leadership, noting that his existence in this place is similar to the game, but he still wonders why Leon asked him where he is from. But then suddenly, a strike hits Leon from behind, and everyone is shocked. The team turns to see the boss monster, the demon mermaid. Rachel is stunned to see the mermaid and asks why it is here. Our boy thinks everything had been going too smoothly, but now, in this situation, he wonders if they should run or fight. While both Rachel and Batten are panicking, our boy decides to step in and orders Batten to focus his healing blessing on Leon. Kang then instructs Chloe to leave the cave, alert the nearby cadets to evacuate, and call for the instructors. He explains that fleeing with Leon will be difficult, so Chloe must hurry and act before the mermen launch another attack. Chloe agrees and leaves the cave. Rachel asks Kang what they should do next and whether he has a plan. Baton asks our boy where he is going, and our boy tells Rachel and Baton to handle the small fries. Baton asks, "What the hell are you doing?" Our boy closes his eyes, thinking to himself that he has always disliked dealing with small fish. They require no real skill to handle, but this time he's got a big fish. He unsheathes his blade. Our boy realizes there's no turning back. With Chloe needing about 10 minutes to return, Kang concludes that there's only one option. He must defeat the boss mermaid in just 40 seconds. As Kang activates the blessing of the sword god, our boy smiles and says, "It's been a while since I've done some proper sashimi." Meanwhile, Rachel continues taking down the mermen. Several of them attack her at once, but she blocks their strikes with her spear, pushes them back, and makes them into a fish kebab. However, her stamina is slowing her down. Baton, noticing Rachel's exhaustion, wishes he could assist her, but healing Leon is already pushing him to his limits. Baton, recalling Kang's absurd strength from the subspace duel, struggles to believe that Kang is facing the demon mermaid alone. Just watching the fight fills Batten with fear, and he wonders if he should try to stop Kang. Meanwhile, the mermaid launches a strike at Kang, but our boy dodges the attack, charges forward, and leaps into the air, closing the distance. As Kang strikes, the mermaid manages to dodge and heads straight for Batten. Batten is stunned as he sees the mermaid charging toward him, but at the last moment, our boy slices the mermaid's fin with his knife. However, the strike is too shallow. Kang charges forward again, but the mermaid dives into the nearby pond, disappearing beneath the surface. Frustrated, Kang thinks to himself that predicting a mermaid's movements is no easy task, and wonders if the mermaid is deliberately targeting those who are injured. Kang sees Batten is safe and asks if he's all right, and he says, "I'm relying on you, hero," and he charges towards the demon mermaid. The mermaid unleashes a technique, summoning multiple mana fish to strike at Kang. Although Kang dodges them initially, he's caught off guard when the mana fish begin to follow him. Our boy slices through the cave wall using his knives, managing to evade the mana fish. But then, the mermaid shifts her focus and charges straight toward Batten. Rachel shouts, warning Batten to be careful. Just as the mermaid is about to strike him, Kang comes in and chops off the mermaid's hand. However, the strike is shallow once again. Our boy thinks to himself, why is he trying to do small cuts? It's time to change the pattern. The mermaid's hand falls off and shoots a massive hole in the cave, and her own mana fish hit her directly, sending her under the rubble. Baton continues to protect Leon, while Rachel scares the remaining mermen. Our boy thinks to himself that he couldn't have landed a fatal blow on the mermaid earlier because he was conscious of Leon. He recalls the mermaid being crushed under the debris when the cave collapsed, but Kang believes the mermaid is probably not dead. Then, the demon mermaid blasts the rubble apart and charges toward Kang. Our boy calmly removes his coat and tells Rachel that since the mermen have been dealt with, he's leaving Batten and Leon in her care. Baton can't believe our boy is actually facing the demon mermaid head-on. Baton reflects that he once thought Kang was just a madman, but now he wonders if he's witnessing the birth of a legend. Meanwhile, our boy rolls up his sleeves and decides to finish this within 10 seconds. The mermaid gets pissed and charges toward Kang, and our boy activates the blessing of Sword God. The scene shifts to Chloe running as fast as she can. She even uses her blessing and charges forward. She begins to feel intense pain in her legs, but pushes through. She thinks of Kang, the strongest person she has ever met. However, Kang always avoided drawing his blade unless absolutely necessary. Chloe believes Kang always made the best decisions. However, the mermaid is a powerful demon, and Chloe feels frustration. If only she had been stronger, she could have helped him. At that moment, she hears an explosion from the cave. Chloe freezes, shocked at what she sees, but she keeps running desperately, searching for help and hoping that when she finds someone, Kang will still be alive. She screams for help, but suddenly senses something in front of her. Thinking it might be a merman, she charges forward and attacks, but her attack gets blocked. It was Abel. Chloe feels relieved seeing her and collapses on the ground in front of Abel's team. Her team suspects an ambush, but Abel silences them, saying Chloe looks familiar. Chloe manages to say, "Please help Kang," before losing consciousness in front of Abel. The scene shifts to the cave, where Batan watches Kang's skill in awe. He thinks Kang moves like a skilled swordsman handling a live fish. Kang is overwhelming the mermaid. Batan is certain that the scene unfolding before him is something he will never forget for the rest of his life. Our boy deflects the mermaid's strikes and slices through her tail. Both Batten and Rachel are stunned. Batten thinks that even Rachel, the successor of the Spear clan and someone who grew up among the strongest warriors, has likely never witnessed anything of this caliber before. But suddenly, Rachel shouts at Batten and pushes him aside, narrowly missing the mermaid's attack. She tells him to snap back to reality, or does he have death wish? The mermaid's strike causes a massive hole in the cave wall, and Batten realizes things are getting worse. Meanwhile, our boy is absolutely locked in. The mermaid begins casting her special spell, gathering mana into her hands, and unleashing mana projectiles aimed at Kang from all directions to prevent him from dodging. Our boy parries those attacks using his knife, but sees his blade corroding. So, he throws the knife at the mermaid and slices her in two. And bro pulls a one-punch man on her for the final strike, but the merman blocks Kang's attack. The mermaid rips out her mana core and prepares a close-range attack on Kang. Batan and Rachel shout at Kang to move away. However, Kang realizes he cannot avoid it. Then Kang blanks out and finds himself in a new space, seeing a red thread in the water. He then sees the true essence of the blessing of the Sword God, and the system guides him to slice. Our boy grips his knife and unleashes the full power of the blessing on the mermaid, and the strike is so powerful it nukes everything nearby. The scene shifts to the mermaid finally being defeated, and our boy is the last one standing, looking down on her. The mermaid tries to move, but Kang decides to put her out of her misery and slashes her head off, finally ending the fight. Meanwhile, Batten and Rachel are stunned to witness a freshman single-handedly defeat a demon, but then Kang coughs out blood and collapses. Seeing this, Rachel runs towards Kang, while Batten checks on Leon to see if he is fine. At that moment, Batten senses movement near the entrance of the cave and worries that the mermen have returned, but he is relieved to see that it's Abel and her team. They are shocked to see the defeated mermaid's remains. Meanwhile, Abel sees Rachel hugging Kang and gets jealous. She looks at Leon and thinks the team leader could have died, but it looks like he made it out alive. She tells them she has contacted the academy and that they are on their way. She then asks what happened here. Batten curses the instructors for sending them to this shitty island, but Abel just asks him to explain. Batten starts to explain everything from the start, and Abel concludes that the mermaid came out of nowhere, and that Kang defeated it alone. She asks him for confirmation, and Batten confirms that everything is true. Abel reflects on her past when her grandfather used to tell her stories about heroes, and finds it hard to believe that a freshman from the academy defeated a demon on his own, whereas she was a descendant of a hero's bloodline and did her best to come this far. But Kang always makes her feel like an ordinary person. She then instructs her team teammate to use her healing blessing on Kang. As her teammate uses her blessing to heal our boy, Abel observes him and thinks that even though he looks like he could kick the bucket at any time, she thinks he is the same age as her. Yet, he defeated a demonoid alone and won. She continues to glare at our boy, but Batten comes in and reminds Abel that she mentioned contacting the academy earlier. Abel confirms this. Batten then suggests that for now, it might be better not to tell everything in detail, and Abel asks him why. Batten suspects something doesn't add up because the instructors said they scouted this island beforehand, yet despite that, a demonoid was present in the cave. Leon asks Batten if he suspects there's someone from the demon faction within the academy, and Batten says he didn't mean that, but there is a possibility of that happening. Abel reflects on the situation. If it weren't for Kang, Leon's group would have been wiped out by the demonoid. Still, Abel wonders how such a thing could have happened. While there have been conflicts, both major and minor, during the 700-year truce, they never targeted cadets of the academy. She thinks they might be looking for a justification for another war. Batten then tells Rachel he knows what she is thinking, but it's best not to think too much. He says there could be a possibility of a spy in the academy, but it's too soon for any conclusions. Leon then speaks up, saying that if that's the case, they might become a target since Kang defeated the demonoid. Baton agrees to keep this a secret, considering everything Kang has done for them. Hearing that, Abel suggests, why don't they try speaking to her grandfather first? The scene shifts to the academy's hospital, where Kang regains consciousness and sees that he still didn't kick the bucket. He recalls the mermaid's final attack, which could not be dodged, but somehow he was able to see a line and sever the magic with his sashimi knife. He wonders what that sensation was. When he activated the blessing, he was able to feel things he could not describe. He then opens the blessing window and notices that his mental fortitude has increased and his assimilation rate reached 7.2%. Kang wonders whether this skill unlocked when he sliced through the mermaid's magic. At that moment, Media bursts into the room, throws herself toward Kang, and hugs him tightly, saying she was worried for him. Meanwhile, our boy is suffocating. What a lucky guy. Media then pulls out a dimensional pocket and presents Kang's reward for the midterm exams, the legendary weapon, Murasame. Our boy is surprised to see the sword, and Media says that she hopes Kang likes it. She apologizes for giving him the sword in such a place, saying that he should have received it more officially. Suddenly, Media notices someone at the door. She says, "Come in, you old geezer." And we see Siegfried, who tells her to stop calling him that. As both of them stand in front of him, Kang feels deja vu and asks, "What brings the Sword Emperor here?" Media tells Kang that they have heard everything from his teammates and apologizes to him for their carelessness. They are to blame for what happened during the midterm exams. Because of this incident, Kang, his teammates, and all the students nearly lost their lives. Media swears on her honor to uncover the truth behind the incident. Siegfried tells our boy that he saved the cadets. Hearing this, Kang replies that he only did what he could. Media explains that while Kang's actions were nothing short of remarkable, they need to keep this incident a secret until they find out who is behind it. She apologizes to Kang for this situation. Our boy replies that he understands the situation. Hearing this, Media says he should act like a kid and throw a tantrum or two sometimes. The scene then shifts outside, where Media and Siegfried are walking through a corridor. Media suddenly stops and asks Siegfried if he remembers the day they first met after enrolling. Siegfried was lying on a bench outside, and when Media told him to stop being lazy, he drew his sword without a word, telling her not to order him around. Siegfried replies that he doesn't remember that. Media smiles, saying it feels like it happened just yesterday, yet she has already spent 60 years here. She finds it laughable how she hasn't even filled a tenth of the academy's history. Back when both she and Siegfried enrolled, the place was already ancient and full of history. Although there have been large and small incidents over the centuries, the academy has nurtured and protected its cadets for 700 years. Suddenly, Media becomes angry and unleashes her aura, shattering the window in front of her. Media recalls that before the midterms, she received reports that the instructors completed multiple preliminary surveys of the island. Even if it was rare, the island was known as a place where mermaids might appear, so she took every precaution. Yet, the tragedy still occurred. Siegfried tries to calm Media down. Media apologizes, saying she was lost in thought, and Siegfried looks at her with a serious expression. But then, Media shifts her mood and starts to simp for Kang, saying he was able to take down the mermaid all by himself and asking Siegfried Siegfried what he thinks. Siegfried wonders if Kang is a genius, and whether he could reach the place he once dreamed of. As Siegfried walks away from media, he tells her to stay put at the academy for now. The scene shifts to the wolf class, where our boy is sitting in class. Kang thinks about how the incident with the demonoid mermaid on the island is being kept secret under the headmaster's instructions. He finds it a bit awkward, but perhaps his classmates are carefree because he stopped the mermaid. After being discharged, the first thing Kang did was visit the school's forge to reshape and enhance his new weapon. The blacksmith tells Kang to retrieve his sword 1 week later, and since it's the 700th anniversary event, he won't charge any money. Kang thinks he got lucky and hopes the enhancement will be successful. Then Chloe comes in and asks Kang how he is feeling. Our boy replies that he's fine and asks about her condition. Chloe says she injured her leg, but thanks to emergency treatment from Batten, the doctor said she'll be able to walk within a week. Kang asks if there has been anything unusual, and Chloe replies that she heard the director and the elders have been at odds. Kang reflects on how everyone did their best defeating the mermaid, but he wonders why Leon didn't do jack shit. He also wonders how he will defeat the Demon King. At that moment, Instructor Lee enters and tells the students to stop what they're doing. He has an announcement to make. He says there will be someone co-instructing with him, and everyone in the wolf class is surprised to see Siegfried walk into the class. The students wonder why the Sword Emperor would be their instructor. Kang, on the other hand, is shocked and thinks, what is that old geezer doing here? The scene then shifts to an underground location where we see a guy absolutely getting cooked by an instructor. She tells him that the 5th Corps commander is pissed. She further kicks his ass and says she is disappointed for not bringing Leon back, making him out of reach for capture. She scolds him for failing, even with the mermaid's help. The guy says that it was all done by a single student. He was this year's top student. His name is Kang. Hearing this, the instructor is surprised and smirks, thinking things are getting exciting. She leaves with a sussy expression. The scene shifts to the training grounds, where Instructor Lee is running alongside the students, acting like a drill sergeant and yelling at them to run faster. Meanwhile, Chloe is sitting on a bench, waving at Kang with a smile. Seeing her resting, our boy feels jealous. Just then, Siegfried approaches Kang from behind and tells him to pick up the pace. Kang wonders why this guy is running with them. According to the game, Siegfried is supposed to become one of the strongest characters and the master of Leon during the Second Demon War. Kang thinks, why the hell is he even here? Just go back to Leon. He recalls that Leon never actually received the Sword Saint title, but he couldn't care less, because now the old man is running beside him like David Goggins. Siegfried shares his knowledge about the importance of physical conditioning and tells Kang to keep up. Our boy painfully says yes, while Siegfried effortlessly runs ahead, telling Kang to keep up with him. And our boy wonders if this guy is aging backward. After the run, Siegfried dumps a pile of weapons on the ground and tells the students to pick one to master. Our boy hopes there's a sashimi knife in the pile. At that moment, one student raises his hand and argues that it's best to use weapons they are already familiar with for long-term effectiveness. Hearing this, Siegfried counters that the basics are more important than anything else. Relying too much on high-grade weapons can make students neglect their training, making them mistake a weapon's power for their own strength. The same student insists that learning how to use advanced weapons properly is also important. However, Siegfried shuts him down, stating, nothing matters when you lack skills. Then, he delivers our boy's punchline. A true master never blames his equipment. Hearing this, Kang nods in agreement, thinking, this is 100% true. Siegfried explains that once the students master the basics, they will naturally become comfortable with any weapon. He also reveals that students who can master ordinary weapons will receive high scores in the promotion evaluation. Upon hearing this, all the students rush toward the pile and start grabbing weapons. Meanwhile, Kang thinks Siegfried does have a way with words. He always thought of Siegfried as Medea's punching bag. Our boy then notices a Walmart knife and picks it up. Siegfried announces that the students will have one-on-one sparring sessions without the use of subspace. The students are surprised, asking if they might get hurt. Siegfried tells them to grow up, reminding them that they joined the academy to become warriors. He explains that true growth comes through combat, even when facing the risk of defeat. However, understanding their concerns, he reassures them that he will personally give a demonstration. Hearing this, the students get hyped at the opportunity to witness the legendary Sword Emperor in action. Instructor Lee, however, steps in, telling them to be silent. Meanwhile, Instructor Lee is internally pissing himself at the thought of facing the Sword Emperor. Just as Lee is about to say something, Siegfried calls out for Kang to step forward. Hearing this, the students say, "Our boy is screwed, but at least they can witness the legendary Sword Emperor." Meanwhile, Kang is still thinking about what to do when Siegfried asks if his injuries have fully healed. Kang replies that he is fine now. Siegfried then instructs him to pick up his sword. Our boy can't help but think that, even though this is just a sparring match, it feels like too much. His condition may have improved, but his opponent is none other than the Sword Emperor. Crossing swords with someone of Siegfried's caliber wouldn't end easily. One of them is bound to get hurt. Kang wonders if this craving for a fight is due to the influence of divine power, but instead of giving in, he takes a step back and tells Siegfried that he is nothing compared to him, asking him to lower his sword. The students behind him mock him, saying he will lose no matter what. Siegfried then questions if Kang has no pride as a swordsman and tells him to stop hiding his power. This makes Kang reflect on his past. In his world, he held the title of the greatest swordsman in the country. That pride, along with his determination, has been the driving force behind why he never put down his sword. He realizes that Siegfried is deliberately provoking him. If he falls for it, he may regret it for a long time. Yet he still has a choice. With everyone watching him, Kang finally agrees and tells Siegfried he will learn from him. As the two stand face to face, their swords drawn, ready for combat, Siegfried recalls a vivid memory from his own past, the moment when he gained enlightenment through the sword. He remembers when he was not yet mature, but had witnessed a one-armed wandering knight demonstrating unparalleled swordsmanship. Ever since the allocation test, he has been keeping an eye on Kang, hoping to find a clue that would lead him to that same enlightenment. As the duel begins, Siegfried strikes first, but Kang effortlessly dodges and appears behind him. Siegfried immediately senses his position and swings his sword in his direction, only for Kang to parry it. Siegfried notices that Kang's attacks are bold. He charges in head-on without avoiding. The two continue exchanging strikes, but surprisingly, Kang pushes Siegfried back. Fired up, Siegfried says his sword is not light and continues to strike him. Meanwhile, the students wonder why the Sword Emperor is being so careful with Kang. They get even more confused when both of them suddenly stand still. Instructor Lee observes the scene and recalls Siegfried saying that he won't cross real swords with Kang, and he only intended to see if Kang can enter the mental realm. As they continue to face off, Siegfried watches Kang take his stance and is impressed. He then activates his sword, Spirit. Protection. His aura surges and intermediates everyone nearby, and both of them charge toward each other. Seeing this, Instructor Lee tries to stop them, but just before they can reach each other, Media intervenes and smashes the ground, screaming at Siegfried saying, "What the hell is he doing to a student?" The scene shifts to Media's office, where she is still furious with Siegfried. A few moments earlier, Media grabs his collar and screams at him for pulling that crap on a student. After Media stopped Siegfried, the students had started to worry. Siegfried tried to explain, saying he never intended to escalate the fight, but as he turned to look at Kang, he realized how he had lost control and exerted his full aura. Media calls out to Siegfried, saying, "Has he gone deaf?" Siegfried turns to her, and he apologizes to her again. Back in Media's office, she reflects on how, in over 50 years, she has never heard Siegfried say sorry. Yet today, he has apologized not once, but twice. She asks him why he unleashed his sword spirit on a student and what could have happened if she hadn't stepped in. Siegfried replies that if he hadn't used the blessing, he wouldn't have been able to gain the upper hand. Media is stunned. Siegfried is a man full of pride, and for him to admit such a thing is almost unimaginable. She knows Kang is talented, but she also knows better than anyone just how strong Siegfried truly is. Then, Siegfried reveals that Kang has already reached the mental realm. Hearing this, Media is shocked because it took Siegfried nearly 30 years to master it, and now he's saying a 17-year-old has achieved it and says that doesn't make any sense. Siegfried, still deep in thought, admits that he still doesn't understand. There's something that can offset experience. This leaves Media even more confused as she begins to think about Kang. When she had stopped Siegfried and approached Kong to check if he was okay. The only thing she had felt in that moment was fear. It was the same fear she had experienced when she first met the 6th Division commander. She wonders why such an eerie feeling came from Kang. Turning to Siegfried, she asks bluntly, "Did you lose?" Siegfried is flustered and says, "There's no way that could be true. Even if Kang is talented, there's no way I'd lose. Besides, I wasn't even fully armed during our duel." Media smirks and says why he is overreacting when he is who said, "A true master never blame their equipment," and teases him for making excuses, and hearing that Siegfried gets pissed. The scene shifts to Kang's room, where he wakes up from his dream of the duel. He thinks it ended well, though he also thinks the Sword Emperor is quite hot-headed. Reflecting on what happened, he realizes that if media hadn't intervened, things could have gone wrong. Kang begins to reflect on the concept of the mental realm. It feels strange to him. It's a power that can only be manifested by a master who has honed a single weapon their entire life. Even in the game, the protagonist Leon took 3 years and needed Siegfried's guidance to master it, but Kang wonders why he was able to do it right away. He thinks if it's because he spent 20 years using a sashimi knife in his previous life, and every time he unleashes the sword spirit's blessing, he experiences a level of concentration that transcends normal perception. And now, his past experience is starting to intertwine with his current life. Our boy decides to test it out, and he unsheathes his blade. As he begins to focus, the surroundings start to shift. The world itself shatters. Suddenly, a hand emerges, touching his shoulder, and the aura of the blessing begins to flow into his hand. However, our boy is shocked to see as the sword turns to dust and disappears completely. The scene shifts to a building where the elders have gathered. They are discussing the recent demon incident, and one of them insists that they need to investigate Kang. Another elder questions whether Kang might be a candidate for the hero, but she dismisses it, saying, "Isn't the true hero candidate Leon?" The elders continue arguing, debating their responsibility to maintain power within the academy. It is their duty to ensure that the hero candidate faces the demon lord. Finally, the higher elder speaks, instructing them to issue orders to the Auditore family. The scene then shifts to our boy, who is pissed, and he's scaring the blacksmith because the man somehow turned his brand new B-rank weapon into a sashimi knife, turning it into an E-rank weapon. Seeing his new weapon become an E-rank weapon, our boy is pissed. The blacksmith tells him that in his 30 years of hammering steel, he has never seen something like this. The sword itself refused to be forged, and before it became a lump of metal, he hastily melted it down and reforged it into a sashimi knife. Our boy, despite his 20 years of experience with swords, finds the craftsmanship impressive. The specifications align perfectly with the blessing, but the hardness remains at an E rank. The blacksmith tells him that the potential of this weapon is good. If reinforced, it will definitely become useful, so he offers to do it for free if Kang brings him the reinforcement materials. But Kang gets even angrier, saying, "What happens if it breaks again?" The blacksmith assures him that even though it's an E-rank weapon, it has the potential of an A-rank weapon, and could get even better if he brings never-fail material. However, that material can only be obtained from A-rank or higher demonic beasts. Hearing this, Kang thinks to himself that A-rank demonic beasts are comparable to E-rank demonoids, and he wonders if he'll have to take down another mermaid. However, Kang doesn't want to risk his life just to reinforce equipment. He also recalls that even lower-ranked demons occasionally drop reinforcement materials, but he doesn't want to go broke either. Kong then asks the blacksmith if he will stay true to his promise, and the blacksmith swears on his honor as a blacksmith. Our boy also asks him to refund the cost of the leftover scrap metal and demands 10 million won. The blacksmith refuses, telling him that he did exactly as requested and didn't even charge for enhancement costs. But our boy argues that the B-rank sword was reduced to scrap, and considering the market price, this is a fair deal. The blacksmith gets pissed and tells him he won't be swindled, but our boy goes into Yakuza mode, telling him he was planning to test the sword's performance anyway. This works out perfectly. The blacksmith gets scared and tries to bargain, but Kang doesn't budge and starts to unsheathe the knife. As a last effort, the blacksmith explains that even the scraps of a B-rank weapon have a different market value, and recovering the original amount is hard. However, with Kang's killer aura, our boy tells him to hand it over, and with no other choice, the blacksmith finally gives in. The scene shifts to outside, where our boy sits on a bench reviewing his stats. Kang thinks to himself that after obtaining a new weapon, his armament stats have increased, and additional options have become available. The biggest reason our boy hesitates to use the sword god's blessing is the excruciating pain it causes, but the pain has started to decrease. Kang realizes he needs to level up this skill no matter what. He recalls testing the blessing earlier. While the pain was reduced, it was still unbearable. However, if just one level of improvement can lower the pain, then with consistent leveling this month, he might eventually be able to use the sword god's blessing without feeling any pain. Kang discovers that obtaining or enhancing a weapon increases armament stats, and he decides to make weapon enhancement his top priority. If he continues to grow at this rate, he might finally come to understand the true power he has been given, and maybe even find out who threw him into this world. At that moment, just as he is about to eat his food, Chloe approaches and asks Kang what he is doing. Our boy is shocked and surprised to see her. Seeing Chloe's leg, our boy asks if she has taken off her cast and if her body is okay now. Chloe tells him that she's fine, but still needs crutches, though she feels stronger than before. Broken bones heal stronger after breaking. Hearing this, Kang thinks to himself, bones aren't muscles. Then suddenly, our boy steps closer to Chloe and picks a grain of rice from her cheek. Man, our boy really has that unspoken riz. We can't pull this in real life, can we? Seeing our boy's riz, Chloe blushes so hard that her mind goes blank, and she falls to the ground. Kang quickly helps her up and asks if she's okay. Chloe tells him she is fine. Just then, she notices Kang's knife and tells him it's a cool weapon. It looks pretty, despite being an E rank. Hearing E rank, our boy suffers emotional damage. Chloe tries to explain that's not what she meant. Our boy tells Chloe it's fine because he already got some money back from the blacksmith. And since the blacksmith won't charge for enhancements if he brings the materials, he plans to enhance the sword to make it usable. Chloe cheers him up, telling him he is already strong enough with just a sashimi knife. With a proper weapon, he will definitely become even stronger. Hearing this, Kang thanks Chloe. Our boy thinks he doesn't have any reason to get even stronger. Ever since he defeated that mermaid, he has been able to handle mid-tier magical beasts. The real reason Kang wants to enhance his weapon is to reduce the pain caused by the sword god's blessing. Seeing our boy's expression, Chloe apologizes, saying she didn't mean to insult his weapon. Kang tells her that's not the case. It's just that seeing his new weapon as compensation made him sigh. Chloe then asks who the blacksmith was that made his weapon. She suddenly goes into yandere mode and says she will kill all those who make him suffer. But before she does something insane, Kang snaps her back to reality. At that moment, Kang senses something and walks toward a nearby tree. Seeing this, Chloe asks where he's going. Our boy kicks the tree and Nox falls to the ground like an apple. And just like that, our boy just demonstrated Newton's first law of motion. Nox gets up and admits he was careless. Chloe is surprised to see him. The scene shifts back to the bench, where our boy picks up his sword and sits down, while Chloe peeks behind him like a cat. Kang senses no killing intent from Nox and observes that he appears unarmed. Kang then asks Nox if he needs something, but Nox remains silent. Our boy reminds him of the warning he gave him at the hospital. Nox turns around and tells him he came looking for him, but this time for a different reason. Kang asks why he came. Nox finally tells Kang that the Academy's elders have requested his elimination. Hearing this, Kang is shocked and thinks, those old men are starting to make a move on me. Chloe quickly asks Nox if that's the reason he came. Nox responds, you've been away from home for too long and have lost your edge. Hearing that, Chloe pulls out her box cutter and tells Kang to stay behind. Nox tells her to never mind and explains that the elders are fixated on Kang. The Auditory family has postponed the request, but if things continue, they will have no choice but to investigate him. Finally, Nox tells Chloe that since she is a member of the Auditory family, she needed to know. Kang thinks to himself that while Nox came under the pretext of upholding the family's principles, in the end, he was truly worried about Chloe. Nox then says that's all he had to say and begins to walk away. Our boy calls out to him asking, what did you say last time? Nox replies, Chloe is happiest when she's by your side. Even I, her brother, have never seen her like this before. He then tells our boy, don't let Chloe get hurt anymore. Hearing that, our boy thinks, what the hell is he talking about? Because it's not his fault that Chloe hurt her leg, but Kang just says, okay. Then Nox asks Kang how he became so strong. Kang is taken aback because he's not someone as great as the Sword Emperor, who can face off against anyone. On the other hand, he only uses his strength for a few minutes a day. So our boy tells Nox that he lacks desperation and advises him to get out of the academy and gain some real-world experience. While Nox is still processing what he said, our boy runs off, thinking he just gave some good advice. The scene shifts to the classroom, where our boy is planning a strategy on how he will deal with the elders. The only thing they are good at is being an obstacle for the protagonist in the game, but he wonders why they are targeting him. Then, he realizes he has caused a lot of trouble and has stood out way too much for a special student. But that doesn't make sense as a reason for the elders to target him. Then, he realizes he is not their target. It was Leon all along, and he is just an obstacle for them. No matter how well media covered up the fact that he was the one who defeated the mermaid, the elders somehow know the truth about that incident. If they are targeting Leon, then some, or all of them, must be working with the demons. Now, they aren't just trying to obstruct Leon, they are actively trying to kill him. They are crossing the line for the sake of their own power, ignoring the safety of humanity and the academy. Kong never thought they were this rotten, and he considers storming into their chambers. He wants to show them what a Friday the 13th remake looks like, but he knows this is not the right time. And when the time comes, he plans to cut them all. For now, our boy keeps his priorities straight and plans to go into a dungeon for the enhancement materials. Now, he needs a raid party. Kang chooses Chloe, but instead of Rachel, he needs someone who is more strategic. Then, he remembers Batten and decides to ask for his help. The scene shifts to Dragon Class, where some brute tries to bully Kang for being a special student. Our boy thinks it's not worth his time and tells him to screw off before he cuts his jaw. But the brute tries to pull a fast one on him, and Kang thinks he is slow. Suddenly, Batten comes in, delivers a left hook to his face, and takes him down. Kang is impressed by his strength, even though he is a healer. Just like a certain someone. Baton then tells Kang they need to talk somewhere else. After a while, Baton understands the situation. Our boy needs to form a party as soon as possible. Baton offers to help recruit party members and proposes a deal. The dungeon rewards will be split among the team, while Kang can keep the materials from the magical beasts. Baton then asks if he got that right. Our boy responds that if he were to gather a party on his own, no one, except Chloe, would join. If Batten helps with the Dragon Class, it might be easier. Batten tells Kang they need to gather 4 members to get dungeon clearance permits. He then glazes our boy, saying that if it weren't for academy rules, he could clear 5 or 6 dungeons alone. Kang tells him he is not that overpowered and that he can't even clear one, but Batten tells him he is too humble. Batten finally agrees to work with him and asks which dungeon they are raiding. Kang tells him they are going to a C-rank Buffalo dungeon. Baton says it's a classic, then asks who will be the last person in the party. He asks if Kang has anyone in mind. Kang tells him he'd prefer if it's not Rachel or Leon. Baton tells him they wouldn't come anyway because they are busy with their own thing. Then, Baton says he has someone in mind, and by now, they are probably sleeping. Kang asks who would be sleeping at this hour. Baton tells him it's just how they are, and says he needs to buy something at the cafeteria before they go. The scene shifts to later that night, where Batten and Kang arrive at a Japanese-style house. As they enter, our boy looks around, thinking to himself that he didn't know the academy had such a place. Even during Kang's time playing Miracle Blessing M, he had never come here. In Kang's past life, our boy was a Japanese cuisine chef, though he never actually visited Japan. Kang always wanted to go, but never had the chance. Then, Kang notices the archery ground, filled with perfect shots. Baton finds the person they were looking for, peacefully sleeping on the floor. He tries to wake her up, but it doesn't work, so he tells her he bought it. She wakes up instantly and asks where. Baton points to Kang, and she runs toward him, grabbing the bag in midair. She then falls on the ground with our boy and starts eating her snack while lying on him. Damn, our boy is winning in life. Our boy snaps back to reality, and she asks him if he has more of that good stuff. The scene shifts to a past memory where our boy is pulling that 50-50 in the game, hoping to get Abel. But like every gacha game, he loses his 50-50 and ends up with a standard character named Saki. Frustrated, he says, "This is an absolute scam." Our boy reflects on the narrative of Miracle Blessing, a story centered around the protagonist, Leon, and numerous heroines. Among them, Abel is the main girl. While other heroines have unique charms and abilities, the game's story highlights Abel and Leon overcoming challenges together with the power of love and friendship. Just like every generic fantasy story. And, of course, like everyone, our boy only gooned for Abel, leading the other heroines to gradually fade into the background. Among them, the one who faded the fastest was Saki, his first ever 5-star character. Back in the present, Saki asks Kang if he has any more chocolate, but Kang is still zoned out. She looks at him and scoffs, telling him he looks foolish. Meanwhile, our boy realizes why Baton is so confident about Saki. She's a top-tier DPS among ranged attackers and barely involved in the main story. Kang thinks this should be fine. Saki turns to Baton and asks why he came. As Baton starts to explain, she interrupts him, telling him to get to the point. Baton informs her that he and Kang are recruiting for the Buffalo Dungeon raid next week, and that they'll split the dungeon rewards, except for the horns. Hearing this, Saki walks toward Kang and asks if he was the one who defeated Nox during subspace training. Kang confirms it. She then turns around and says that since dungeon clear rewards impact student grades, she has no reason to refuse. But there's a catch. She doesn't work with someone who seems unmotivated. Baton jumps in, reminding her that she saw Kang's duel and knows he's not just an ordinary guy. Saki shrugs, replying that maybe Kang's opponents were just weak. This pisses Baton off, and he almost reveals that Kang was the one who defeated the mermaid during the midterms, but he stops himself at the last second. Instead, he just asks her to listen to reason. Saki refuses. As they argue, our boy thinks, what's her deal? A party member can be greedy or rude, but not both. They don't need to beg for someone like her. He turns to Baton and tells him they're wasting their time. Her attitude will only hold the party back. They should just find someone else. Saki mocks him, saying the dungeon raid isn't that urgent. Kang has had enough. He reaches under his coat and grabs a sashimi knife. Both Baton and Saki freeze. Before they can say anything, our boy throws the sashimi knife at the arrow target board. It lands dead center. Saki is in shock, but before she can react, another knife flies through the air, and it hits the handle of the first one cleanly. Kang turns to Saki and asks, "Are you interested now?" Damn, our boy is cooking with this one, and Saki left shaking seeing our boy's skills. She joins their party without any more questions. The scene shifts to the next day in the meeting room, where everyone is gathered, and Saki greets Kang with a casual, "Hi." Seeing her sudden attitude shift, our boy thinks the sashimi effect works every time. Baton, surprised, notices that Saki has already completed most of the raid preparations. She informs the group that the permits are ready and they can begin the meeting. He explains that the Buffalo Dungeon is home to C-rank demonoids known as water buffaloes, beasts notorious for their long-range charge attacks, making close combat difficult. However, they are weak to ranged attacks. Then, Baton mentions an important rule. Under no circumstances should they open the stone gate at the center of the dungeon. Chloe asks, what happens if someone does? Baton replies that while rumors suggest it might be some kind of seal, nothing has been confirmed. Saki reminds everyone that under the Academy's permit, the stone gate must remain closed, so there's no reason to disobey the order. Our boy casually nods. Got it. Everyone turn to look at him, and Baton asks Kang if he knew what was behind the stone gate. Kang actually knows there's a hidden boss inside, but since the gate is locked by the system and can only be opened under specific conditions, they shouldn't be able to trigger it anyway. Despite the risk, the efficiency of this dungeon is unmatched. As our boy is lost in thought, he notices Saki munching on chocolate again. He asks Saki she must really like chocolate, and Saki tells him intelligent people need chocolate. Suddenly our boy remembers Chloe is also in the room, and she goes into her yandere mode and ready to pull out the box cutter on Saki. But then Kang senses someone is watching them. As he turns to Chloe, she immediately goes back to normal. Kang is now sure the elders will make their move when the time comes. The scene shifts to inside the bus. Our boy is deep in thought about the city he's headed to. He once served in the military there and swore he would never come back to this place. Then Baton comes comes along and offers Kang some eggs, but our boy declines the offer. He wonders to himself, do people really eat raw eggs nowadays? Batten then asks Saki if she wants an egg, but she also declines. She takes a quick peek at our boy, and their gazes meet. Saki blushes, and our boy wonders why he always feels like he's being watched. After a while, they arrive at their destination, and Chloe comments that the weather is perfect. Baton, curious, asks our boy why he's carrying so much luggage. Seeing his curiosity, our boy reveals a bag full of sashimi knives. Baton is surprised and asks if he came here just to sell knives. Our boy says it's better to be safe than sorry. Baton teases that our boy talks like an old man, but admits that he must have his reasons. Everyone starts walking toward the dungeon gate. They encounter two security guards standing outside. One of the guards, upon seeing the group, asks if they're from the academy and tells them to write their names in the logbook. As our boy finishes writing his name, the guard's expression changes, but our boy ignores it and walks in with the others. Baton reminds everyone to watch their step. Our boy wonders why the guard was acting so suspicious, but hopes everything will be fine. As they go deeper into the cave, our boy notices some lovers' scribbles on the wall, and he hopes they break up. Suddenly, Saki grabs Kang's hand, telling him she's tired, and asks if he has anything sweet. Our boy checks his pocket and shows her a candy. Saki looks disappointed and asks if he has any chocolate. Kang replies that he's not her mom and tells her to eat the damn thing. Then Chloe alerts the group that 4 monsters are approaching from 200 meters away. Baton quickly instructs everyone to stick to the plan, assuring them the monsters won't pose any real danger. He tells Chloe and Saki to get ready for battle while he prepares some buffs. Saki pulls out her S-rank weapon, the Crimson Bow. Seeing this, Kang feels confident the dungeon clear will be a cakewalk. However, Saki mentions something feels off about her weapon, wondering if it's just been too long since she last used it. Then, casually, Saki pulls out her chocolate and starts eating it, saying it's good. Our boy takes back what he said. He's getting trust issues now. Meanwhile, as the monsters close in, both Chloe and Saki charge forward. Baton buffs them with his weapon. Chloe leaps into the air, wielding dual crossbows, and shoots out the eye of a monster. 3 more monsters rush in, and Chloe reaches for her blade to strike them, but Batten yells for her to fall back according to their plan. At that moment, Saki draws her bow and launches 3 arrows, each one blasting a monster's head. Saki smirks and says they're too weak. Our boy wonders what would happen if they broke the monster's horns, but acknowledges that having a skilled DPS like Saki is a huge plus. As they move deeper into the cave, a bull monster unexpectedly charges toward Saki. She recognizes it as the one Chloe fought earlier and feels annoyed to face it again. Saki gets distracted, slips, and braces for impact, but our boy rushes in and slices the monster down with a single strike of his sashimi knife. Saki is mesmerized by his quick action. Our boy asks Saki if she's all right, and she blushes. Damn, the Riz Lord strikes again. The scene shifts outside, where the guard from before says he is ready. Then we see our boy grab the horns of the bull monster. Kang says the reason he came to this dungeon is for buffalo, so he decides to take as much as he can carry. As Kang begins collecting them, Saki approaches him and hands him chocolate as a token of gratitude for saving her earlier. Meanwhile, Kang senses Chloe going yandere again. Noticing this, our boy turns around, calls out to Chloe, and tells her about the guard from earlier. As both of them are discussing it, Batten chimes in, asking if the two of them are dating. Hearing this, Chloe immediately starts blushing, but before she can get her hopes up, our boy tells Batten that assuming all male-female relationships are romantic is narrow-minded. Batten says he thought that because the two of them always stick together. Meanwhile, Chloe is staring at Kang with disappointment. Then Chloe asks why there are so few mobs and why the cave feels empty. Batten comments that no matter how popular a dungeon is, it wouldn't be this empty. He then asks Saki for her thoughts on the situation. Saki says those buffaloes seemed off and adds that it looked as if they were running away from something. Since buffaloes don't typically behave that way, it doesn't make sense. Baton agrees, pointing out that buffaloes are usually docile and locals even use them for farming. Hearing this, Kang is surprised and wonders what's wrong with these people for using demonic buffaloes for farming. Kang then asks how Batten and Saki know each other. Saki proudly says that she topped the written exam while Batten came in second. She further adds that Batten bragged about it for weeks. Frustrated, Batten tells Saki to stop talking nonsense, but Saki ignores him and continues, telling Kang that she also ranked third in the placement tests. Hearing this, our boy is surprised that Batten ranked second. He had assumed Batten was just a loudmouth. Batten responds, telling him not to compare him with Rachel, since Rachel is his cousin. Hearing that, our boy is even more surprised, finally realizing why, as a player, he didn't know about Batten's connection to the main characters. Batten further explains that he's just from a branch family, while Rachel's family belongs to the main line. That's why there's a distinction between them. However, Batten says, let's not talk about that, and tells Kang he's the real deal here, telling him not to forget him when he becomes famous. Kang says he won't, and Batten mentions that Kang might even join the 7 heroes in the future. But then Saki, stepping ahead of them, suddenly turns to the group and says she hates the 7 heroes. Baton replies, asking what her problem is. He then tells everyone to move forward, saying they need to finish the dungeon quickly. As they move in, Kang notices some crystals on the dungeon floor, but before he can inspect them further, Batten urges him to keep moving. The scene shifts to the outside where a guard is talking on the phone. The instructor tells him not to get cocky and that if he fails, he'll be held responsible. The guard replies that he understands and says they're dead either way. Just in case, he forced the gate open, meaning there's no chance of surviving. Yet something about Kang unsettles him. Those eyes, it's as if he sees through everything. The guard decides to go in to check things out himself. The scene shifts back inside the dungeon. Chloe turns to Kang and informs him that she can sense magical beasts approaching from behind. Kang asks how many. Chloe says roughly 50 beasts. The entire group is stunned upon hearing this. At that very moment, Kang and the others suddenly sense something rushing toward them from the opposite side of the dungeon. When they turn to look, they see a massive horde of buffalo stampeding straight toward them. Baton says none of this makes sense. He's never seen a swarm like this before. The buffalo are charging at full speed toward them, and still in shock, Batten turns to Kang and reminds him, didn't he say these buffalo were harmless? At that moment, Kang recalls a memory from his past life when his master once told him that every blade has its purpose, just as a sashimi knife is meant for handling fish. Our boy had asked about beef and whether it could be used for that. As his master raised his hand, our boy got scared and apologized, but then he saw the fish had been sliced like butter with the sashimi knife. His master then said, that's also true. Returning to the present, Kang has an idea. He tells Chloe to distract the herd of buffalo, warning her not to charge straight in. Instead, she should move left and right to disrupt their formation. He says she doesn't need to attack. Her only task is to draw the buffalo's attention. Chloe nods. Kang then turns to Batten and asks if he's ready. Batten replies, I was born ready. Meanwhile, Saki struggles to understand why Kang remains so calm. Kang then gives her instructions, telling her to hold the front and stop anything that gets too close. Saki agrees. She then turns to Batten and asks why Kang seems so composed. Batten tells her not to be surprised. However, Saki remains confused, unable to understand what Kang is planning. Then our boy takes out all the knives and Bro makes a Wolverine pose, and he activates the blessing of the sword god. As one of the buffalo charges toward him, he throws a bunch of knives at them. Meanwhile, Saki remains in shock, still unable to process how Kang plans to handle all those buffalo alone. In the next scene, Saki can't believe what she's seeing. Our boy has defeated all of the buffalo monsters and is now standing on top of their corpses like the Doomslayer. Meanwhile, Chloe, using her blessing, takes down 3 buffalo monsters with a single strike, and our boy charges forward with his godspeed, slicing down all buffalo monsters in his path. But suddenly, a group of buffalo monsters charges at Kang and slams their bodies into him. Saki tries to shoot an arrow to help, but there are too many of them. Then suddenly, she sees our boy bursting out using his dual blades, and Saki is stunned to see him walk away from that chaos. Later, our boy collects the horns of the buffalo monsters. Thanks to the painless blessing, he was able to take down 50 buffalo. Chloe approaches Kang and says he rocked today. Kang pats Chloe's head and tells her she did a nice job as well. Meanwhile, Seeing Saki's expression, Batten teases her, reminding her that he told her not to be surprised. Frustrated, Saki says it was impossible not to freak out over what had just happened. Batten says Kang always finds a way to shock them. Saki starts to wonder, who is he really? Baton admits he has no idea either. As they move forward, Baton informs Kang that the dungeon's clear condition was 20 buffalo, but Kang had soloed twice that number just to show off. Kang says he hadn't done much during midterms anyway. Suddenly, Chloe says it's too quiet around them. Saki, looking ahead, sees a pillar-like structure, and then suddenly the gate's chains begin to break. The group is shocked to see a gate before them, and Kong recognizes the place instantly. The scene shifts to a security guard who had entered the dungeon to check on Kong and his party, but the guard is shocked to see that Kong's party had managed to defeat all the buffalo monsters. As he observes them, he thinks back to a few days prior. A woman had approached him, claiming to be an instructor from the academy. She offered to clear his debts if he did one thing for her. The guard asks how. She tells him to tame the buffalo monsters, then use a demon stone to send them into a frenzy and release them when Kang showed up with his party. She also ordered him to open the dungeon gate. The guard hesitated, concerned that the students might not make it out alive, but tempted, he eventually agrees to help her, and she says she'll call him later. After she leaves, the guard thinks about all the money and how he'll gamble with it again. In the present, the guard is pissed that Kang's party is still alive and hopes they die when the stone gate opens. The scene shifts back to our boy and his party, standing before the open gate. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Kang thinks it's no wonder everything had seemed so easy. They had walked right into a trap. The guard's glare had felt off to him earlier, and now Kang is frustrated that he hadn't trusted his instincts. The stone gate of this dungeon only opened with the giant demon stone, a mid-game quest item. The fragments Kang had seen earlier were pieces of the mana stone, and he hadn't expected the stone gate to be left open. Kang considers that if everything goes according to the game, there should be a reward, but surviving comes first. Kang can sense the presence of the boss monster. As he stares at the gate, he notices a single red line carved into the supposedly indestructible stone. He realizes that he's already used up all 40 seconds of the painless blessing, but his knife should be able to hold out a little longer. His plan is to go through the gate and get out before it shatters completely. Suddenly, the stone gate begins to open wider. Kang and the others stand frozen. Then, a massive creature emerges. Baton questions if the monster before them is a buffalo. Kang couldn't believe it either. The boss monster had broken through the stone gate. It was an A-rank demon minotaur, also known as the Buffalo King, and the reward for defeating this dungeon's boss was the Blessing of Transition. The scene shifts inside the stone gate, where Kang's party now faces off against the boss monster and two more buffalo monsters guarding him in formation. Chloe is shocked to see that there are more monsters inside the stone gate, while our boy quickly assesses the situation, realizing they need to take them out before the boss awakens. Kang knows this is different from the midterm exam. If he could take down the mermaid with zero intel, he can handle a minotaur now, but his painless blessing has already run out. Those precious 40 seconds are gone. He grips his knife tightly and turns to Batten, asking if he can still use the pain-reducing blessing. Batten nods and says he can, but only for 2 minutes. Kang replies that it's enough, telling him to keep applying the blessing while he's fighting, because one slip-up could mean death. He then turns to Saki and Chloe, instructing them to handle the small fries because he's going straight for the big one. He warns them not to get involved with the boss monster, no matter what. Saki looks concerned, but Kang tells everyone to stick to the plan. As the buffalo monsters charge forward, our boy activates the blessing of the sword god, but suddenly Kang feels extreme pain throughout his entire body and starts vomiting blood. He can't move. That's when Batten steps in, activating his blessing. Thanks to him, Kang is able to stand again. The boss buffalo monster charges straight at him. Kang locks in and charges forward too. The monster swings its axe, and Kang narrowly dodges, but pain continues to rack his body with every movement. The boss swings again. Kang parries and moves behind him to strike, but the boss kicks him away. Kang barely manages to block the kick with his knife. Our boy realizes that unlike before, he can now feel everything, because the painless blessing. As the boss readies another strike, Kang gets in close, too close, but manages to dodge and move behind the boss again. The Minotaur slams his axe into the floor and smashes the floor. As the smoke clears, we see our boy casually sitting right on top of the blade. God damn, bro pulled Makiri counter from Sekiro. Meanwhile, Saki watches in absolute shock, witnessing Kang's insane skill in real real time. One of the buffalo monsters charges at her, but she dodges and shoots it right in the eye. As she fights, her thoughts drift to Kang, how he remains unshaken, even at death's door. He reminds her of the Sword Emperor. With one final shot, she blows up the buffalo monster's head. After defeating it, Saki remembers rumors she had heard, that the Sword Emperor once unleashed his aura against the special admission student. That same presence, she's starting to feel it from Kang. Meanwhile, our boy begins releasing his blessing aura. The boss buffalo monster charges at him again, this time aiming to land a punch. But Kang moves in and slices the monster's right arm clean off. The boss screams in agony. Baton continues to buff Kang from the backline, while Chloe finishes off the last of the buffalo monsters. Covered in blood, she reflects on her lack of experience, realizing that the closer a monster's form is to a human, the more dangerous it becomes. As she looks at the boss buffalo monster writhing in pain, it suddenly grabs its axe with its left hand and starts chanting magic. Saki is shocked. She didn't think monsters were capable of using magic, but on closer look, she realizes something terrifying. The boss is burning its own life force to generate mana. The magical pressure makes it nearly impossible to get close. Baton keeps pumping buffs into Kang, who's barely standing now, blood dripping from his mouth. The boss completes its spell and charges forward with full force, axe glowing with rage. And Kang, he moves forward, ready to strike head-on against the raging Buffalo King. Their weapons clash in a violent explosion of force as Kang and the boss monster face off. Kang quickly realizes that the monster's magic is way too dense. His sword alone won't be enough. But dodging isn't an option either. If he backs off, Chloe, Saki, and Baton will be in danger. The boss pushes forward, swinging its massive axe straight at him. From behind, Saki yells, telling him to slice it off. And in that moment, our boy goes beyond his limits, unleashing 100% of the sword god's blessing. The panel turns completely red as Kang tears through with sheer willpower. His knife cracks under the pressure as it starts to break the boss's axe. He pushes with everything he's got, and with a burst of blue aura, he slices the boss in two. Everyone stares in disbelief as the glowing light fades and Kang drops to his knees, and he says, "I cut it." And just like that, Saki falls a little harder for our boy. Meanwhile, Baton collapses from exhaustion, muttering that Kang defies common sense every single time he sees him fight. As he stares at the last flickers of that bright blue light, Baton reflects. It had illuminated the entire cave. Just then, Saki walks up and tells him to breathe. Baton, confused, asks what she means. Saki smiles and says she finally gets why he keeps following Kang around. Baton tries to play it off with a "when was I?" but Saki doesn't let it slide. She says the academy rules won't allow Kang to transfer into their class this year. Baton looks confused. "Did you hit your head or get possessed by a demon?" Saki grins, saying, "What about the other way around? There's no rule against that." She admits she's thinking about tagging along with Kang, too. Meanwhile, our boy is deep in thought, reflecting on the battle. Even with Baton's blessing, he barely made it out alive, but he did it, and fighting without the painlessness blessing was solid progress. Suddenly, Chloe runs toward him and hugs him tightly, asking if he's okay. Kang grunts that he's still hurt, and Chloe quickly jumps back, blushing. At that moment, a system window appears before Kang, revealing his new reward blessing. He immediately recognizes it. It's one that was meant for Leon in the original game, a spirit rank blessing, the rarest class in this world. It's called the Blessing of Transition, a one-of-a-kind ability that allows him to transfer one of his blessings to any living being or object. Kang knows this is huge. He's going to make the best use of it. Just then, the stone gate creaks open and someone enters. Kang turns to Chloe and reminds her of the favor he asked for earlier. Chloe nods. "I'm ready." The man who walks in is none other than the security guard from before, but before he can even react, Chloe rushes in, kicks him to the ground, and stabs his leg with her sword, telling him, "Stay still." Baton, shocked, asks what's happening. Kang replies calmly, "I asked Chloe to do me a favor." The guard curses in pain, demanding to know what the hell they're doing. Kang explains, "This guy is the reason the buffalo monsters went berserk, and why the stone gate opened out of nowhere." Saki adds adds that it's pretty suspicious there weren't any surveillance cameras in the dungeon, yet this guard just happened to show up right when everything ended. Saki steps closer and demands to know who's backing the guard. He tries to stay silent, but our boy steps in, intimidating him. Out of fear, the guard confesses. A few days ago, an academy instructor approached him, promising to clear his debts in exchange for releasing the monsters. Hearing this, Baton loses it. You sold out students for a few bucks? But guard says it was 20 billion. Baton is ready to throw hands, but Saki pulls him back and asks for details. What did the instructor look like? The guard says she was a tall woman with purple hair and eyes. Saki turns to Kong. Could it be their assistant instructor? Baton then asks if she was also behind the mermaid incident. Saki, wide-eyed, asks what that was about. Kong calmly replies, they ran into a demonoid mermaid during midterms. Kang ends the interrogation by stopping the phone recording. Chloe then pulls her blade from the guard's leg. Kang turns to her and says, you're the assassin here. It's your call. Chloe nods, activates her blessing, points her sword at the guard, and ends his life for good. As the group walks away, Kang thinks to himself, he'll end every last one of them when the time comes. The scene shifts to the forge, where Kang hands over the horn of the Minotaur boss to the blacksmith and asks him to enhance it. The blacksmith is completely shocked, seeing that Kang actually brought back an A-grade beast material. He immediately asks Kang how he managed to defeat the boss alone, but Kang brushes it off and says he did it with his team. He also hands over his beloved Sashimi knife for repair. The blacksmith gets furious when he sees the state of the blade and asks him what the hell he did to wreck it like this. Kang simply stares him down with a menacing aura. Nervously smiling, the blacksmith tells him to take better care of his weapons. Kang reminds him of his promise and leaves it in his hands. As our boy turns to leave, the blacksmith curses Kang for making absurd requests every time. Suddenly, Kang turns back, surprising the blacksmith even more. He tells him to sell the leftover materials and buy a drink for yourself. Hearing this, the blacksmith is left confused. The scene then shifts to the classroom, where Kong reflects on his recovery. He had healed quite a lot and was feeling much better after the injuries. However, he knows he'll need to ask Baton once again for his healing blessing. Leaning back in his chair, Kang opens his status window, which now shows his assimilation rate has reached 12.7%. Unlike his other stats, this one doesn't increase so easily. He figures he'll have to clear another dungeon to raise it again, but he's glad that at least he didn't get any new gray hairs, and he thinks, if my hair turns white, I'll lose it all. Kang acknowledges that with enemies actively targeting him, he needs to stay fully prepared. He's come too far now to die a meaningless death. While thinking about his recovery, he notices a gift, something he received for forming his own party and successfully clearing a dungeon. Being targeted had now become a daily thing for our boy, but it wasn't all bad. He'd gained 2 classmates he could actually call friends, Baton and Chloe. Neither of them played a major role in the main story, and Kang isn't even sure if Chloe considers him a friend. Looking at the chocolate he got, our boy remembers that Chloe had been hospitalized with a fever after the dungeon raid. He decides he should visit her when he has time. Just then, the instructor enters the classroom, alongside Siegfried. He tells the students to return to their seats. Kong wonders why the Sword Emperor guy is suddenly showing up. But right at that moment, his phone buzzes. It's a message from an unknown number. What are you doing? Kang assumes it's just a wrong number, but the next message says, look in front of you. As our boy lifts his head, he's shocked to see Saki walking into the classroom, standing next to Siegfried. Instructor Lee announces that Saki has officially been assigned to their class and tells everyone to get along with her. The moment the guys in class see her, they all go crazy and asking her random questions, but she ignores all those gooners and starts walking toward Kang. Our boy can only hope she doesn't actually come to him, because among the top students, she's ranked first in academics. And on top of that, she's the daughter of one of the 7 heroes, who also happens to be the Prime Minister of Japan, which means she's basically Japan's princess. As Kang's thinking, if she comes here, it'll be 200% pain in the ass. She walks right past the gooners, looks at Kang, and jumps into the seat next to him, asking if she can sit there. The scene then shifts to a dungeon, where an investigator is questioning a guard about the missing staff member. The guard tells him that the missing man went into the dungeon to check on the cadets and never came back. The investigator asks if there was anything unusual, and the guard says the guy didn't look too well. The investigator wraps up the questioning for now. Outside, while taking a break with his partner, the investigator says there's no way a body could just disappear like that, especially because when they entered the gate, they found a pile of buffalo corpses, and there's no way the cadets could have done that alone. Yet somehow, they came out safely, while a trained staff member went missing. Just as he's thinking how crazy this whole thing is, his partner suddenly collapses to the ground. He turns around and sees the assistant professor charging at him. Before he can react, she rips his head off. It's revealed that she's half human, half demon, a villain who's been pulling the strings all along. The scene shifts back to the classroom, where Saki is casually eating her chocolate, while all the gooners in class stare at her like she's a celebrity. Saki turns to Kang and asks why he hasn't eaten the chocolate she gifted him. Our boy replies that Chloe usually sits there, but Saki, completely unfazed, says it doesn't matter. It's a first-come, first-served arrangement. Kang just agrees, not wanting to press it further. Just as he's about to ask her why she transferred to his class, the instructor makes an announcement, telling everyone to assemble in 5 minutes for training. As the students begin moving out, Kang turns to Saki and asks if she's not joining them for training. Saki casually replies that she's going to do some Zen training instead and pulls out her goofy mask. Damn, this girl got some drip. Just before she zones out into her meditation, she tells Kang to call her Ryoho, not Saki, because in Japan, first names are used among close friends. Kang then asks why Batten still calls her Saki. She brushes it off, saying that's a different matter entirely, and tells our boy to have fun at training before diving into her own little wonderland. The scene cuts to the dragon class, where Rachel is stretching. She asks Abel if she's heard about Saki transferring to the wolf class. Abel just brushes it off. Seeing this, Rachel teases her, asking if it's bothering her that much. Abel, confused, asks what she means. Rachel explains that transfers are super rare. There's only one spot this year, and yet Saki, who's always napping, chose to transfer to that class. Still not getting it, Abel asks what her point is. Rachel brings up how last week Saki teamed up with Kang and cleared the buffalo dungeon. She starts teasing Abel again, saying that Abel already called dibs on Kang. Embarrassed, Abel blushes and tells her to shut up, but Rachel keeps going, pointing out how every time Kang's name comes up, Abel starts acting different. Fed up, Abel denies everything, saying there's nothing between them and that she's only talked to him a few times. She tells Rachel to stop spreading weird rumors, but Rachel grins and says even if there's nothing now, that could change later. Then she turns serious, telling Abel that she's only fooling herself by lying, and it really doesn't look good on her. She urges Abel to think about it. Abel then recalls a recent conversation with Siegfried, who told her about becoming a temporary instructor. She had told him to leave her alone and not follow her around, but Siegfried revealed he's going to oversee the first-year special class students. Confused, Abel asked what he meant, and Siegfried reminded her that she was the one who requested this after what happened during the midterm exams. He reassured her that they wouldn't run into each other too much, but Abel isn't buying it. She knows her grandfather too well. He's trying to downplay it, but she can clearly see the excitement in his eyes. The Sword Emperor, who always seemed bored with everything, is now suddenly interested, and all of it is because of Kang. She thinks back to Kang, a prodigy who never cared about status and always moved forward with pure strength, constantly defying logic. When she first met him, she thought our boy was just a loser, but now she's starting to see the man in him. Even more than Leon, who's supposed to be a hero candidate, Kang is walking the path of a hero more clearly, and he never shows off. He just quietly keeps moving forward. She never disliked him because he never acted cocky, not even once. But now she's starting to feel jealous. Siegfried recognized something in him. As she's deep in thought, Rachel jumps in from behind and asks what is on her mind, and Abel gets startled and jumps back. Rachel laughs and asks why she was zoning out. Abel quickly recovers and confidently says she has no feelings for Kang. Rachel smirks and says she's relieved because now, without her in the way, the only opponent left is Saki, and winning Kang will be easy. Hearing that, Abel gets flustered, and Rachel asks if she's admitting it now. The scene shifts back to the classroom, where the instructor is explaining about spirits and blessings. One student raises a hand and says his grandfather keeps showing up in his dreams. The instructor casually answers the question, and Saki momentarily wakes up before going right back to sleep. Our boy notices this and thinks even the professor doesn't dare wake her up. She's been asleep for 2 days straight, and all she does is nap. He wonders why she doesn't just do it in a corner instead, but he's relieved Chloe is still in the hospital. Otherwise, box cutters will be flying. Kang feels feels grateful to Chloe. Because of her, the dungeon incident went smoothly. As the instructor explains the different ranks of blessings, one student asks about the heroic level blessings. The instructor tells them those are basically legendary. Since the dawn of blessings, only one person ever awakened it, Hero Valor. Then he wraps up the class for the day. Before leaving, Kang asks a question. Has he ever heard the phrase, "May the blessing of the gods be with you"? Hearing this, the instructor falls silent. Saki wakes up again. The instructor finally responds, saying there's a flaw in what Kang said, because there are no gods left in this world. Still, he admires Kang's thirst for knowledge and tells him to feel free to visit his office anytime. With that, he walks off. Saki grins at Kang and then goes right back to sleep. Our boy asks if she's done sleeping. Saki answers no. Looking at her, Kang starts considering that maybe he needs a nap too. As he drifts off to sleep, he suddenly opens his eyes in another dimension and sees a message. GM requests a conversation with you. As the system presents Kang with a choice, our boy is left stunned by what's happening. The system then flashes another alert. The GM is interfering with the world line, but before Kang can process that, everything goes silent. The system tells him he hasn't met the requirements yet and asks if he still wants to proceed. Kang, unsure if this is just a dream, decides to say yes. After all, he might finally learn more about his blessing. He selects yes. The system begins initiating the connection and then disappears entirely. The entire dimension begins to crack around him. Kang feels the same strange sensation he did when he first awakened his blessing. He moves forward, trying to reach the unknown entity. But just as he gets closer, he hears Saki's voice pulling him back. The system informs him that the conversation with the GM will be postponed. Kang still tries to push forward, but a final message appears from the GM. Cut and sever no matter what it is. Then the system flashes his blessing window. When Kang wakes up, Saki is right next to him, teasing, "He always nagged me about sleeping, and now he's taking a sweet nap." She adds, "Be thankful, otherwise you wouldn't have woken up until tomorrow." But as she turns to look at him, she sees something unexpected. Kang is crying. Tears stream down his face. Man, this is the first time our boy showed this much emotion. The scene shifts to a bench. Kang sits there, thinking about the dream. But no matter how hard he tries, he can't remember anything. What he can remember is crying in front of Saki, and that's now haunting him with embarrassment. Then Batten calls out to him. Kang turns to see Batten, Saki, and Chloe walking toward him. Batten starts giving a quick recap about the enemy hiding within the academy, but Saki cuts him off, telling him to shut up because she's tired of his constant summaries. She even roasts him, saying it's the reason he never tops the exams. As she delivers that emotional damage, Kang feels a little guilty. He was the one who asked for a briefing, but now Batten's suffering for it. Trying to escape the chaos, Kang turns to Chloe and asks if she's feeling better. Chloe says she's doing fine now, but wants to keep her distance, just in case her cold is still contagious. Kang then tells Saki that things have gotten complicated. He's not sure how to handle it all. Saki leans in and says, "Call me Ryoho." Seeing that Chloe is still there, our boy awkwardly says, "Ryojo," and she seems satisfied. Then Batten finally resumes the recap, saying their first lead is the female instructor who's targeting Kang. He explains that they still don't know what the elders are scheming, but for now, the auditor will handle it. Saki chimes in, saying she's definitely seen that female instructor somewhere before. While browsing the academy's database, she found a partial match, but the true identity is still a mystery. Kang, shocked, asks if she's a hacker. Saki casually says it's just basic stuff in this tech-driven world. But even then, the academy's security is no joke. She had to wait until dawn to crack it. That's why she sleeps so much. Then she looks at Kang and asks if he thought she was just a sleepyhead. That's when Kang realizes how she probably got his number in the first place. Batten tells Kang that it's still too early to act. They can't just barge into the elders' room. Instead, he suggests they start a club. Kang is confused. Why a club? Saki explains that clubs come with perks. In fact, they're treated like extensions of the academy. They even get financial support. Before she can finish explaining, Batten literally shoves her aside and says the most important thing: they'll get protection by forming a club. Saki agrees. Since enemies are both inside and outside the academy, a club might be their safest option. Kang remembers the club system in the game. It was more of a gimmick, just a feature where players could decorate their own space and invite characters. He never bothered with it because he didn't have the time. He asks Batten if there are any special requirements. Batten explains they need at least 5 members and must submit a form to the admin office. Kang realizes they're 1 member short. He asks if they're all really going to join. Batten says they wouldn't be there if they weren't serious. Chloe also agrees, saying she'll join if it helps him. Saki reminds him she owes him for saving her during the dungeon incident. She also says they need someone smart. Kang thinks to himself, Human relationships tend to get more calculated as people grow older, but here, these people trust and support him, even though they've just met. He thanks them all. Batten tells him to keep up the momentum, and now they need a name for the club. Chloe steps forward and suggests Memories of Assassination, then pulls her blade. I think she meant Assassin's Creed, but the author is playing it safe from getting a copyright strike from you-know-who. Batten tells her that won't do. Saki then throws out something even weirder, the Leaf Village Neighborhood Watch. Batten tells her to shut up. Then Batten suggests Fight Club. Damn, what's with all these weeb references? Finally, our boy comes up with a copyright-free name, Travel Club. They can explore dungeons and travel a bit. He asks if it's too boring, but everyone agrees. It's perfect. Baton brings up the next challenge. They need a club advisor. Saki says that's the tricky part. Advisors must be at least professor level. Chloe suggests the Blessing Studies professor, but Batten doubts he'd agree. He's always busy. Saki adds that out of 500 Academy staff members, only 30 are professors. It won't be easy to get one of them on board. Then she turns to Kang and asks if he knows anyone. Kang asks, do they need to be professor level or higher? Saki nods, confirming that almost nobody at the Academy ranks higher. Then our boy says, I know someone, and shows his phone. In the next scene, our boy is in the admin office, telling the employee that he's the president of the club. Seeing Kang's special student tag, the employee bursts into laughter. Kang gets pissed when she openly looks down on him, so he calmly asks her to just process the application since it meets all the criteria. But the employee denies him and says there's no way a first-year student can start a club without a faculty advisor. She clearly discriminates against him and mocks Kang for his background, saying no professor would be willing to volunteer for a special student like him. Man, what a bitch. I changed my mind, let's call her Karen. She fits the description perfectly. Hearing her nonsense, Kang thinks to himself that he's already experienced this kind of behavior before. He worked in the service industry after all, and dealt with many Karens. He knows the best way to handle this is to keep quiet, but deep down, he really wants to one-punch her ass. Our boy pulls out his phone and makes a call, telling the person on the other end that he's in the admin office. Seeing Kang call someone, the Karen gets even more pissed. The person on the phone tells Kang they'll be coming shortly. As soon as he ends the call, the Karen goes full Karen mode. She starts ranting about Kang's rudeness and says she's the cousin of a close friend of the headmaster. She straight up asks Kang if he has a death wish, but our boy shuts her up by saying she's whining too loudly. That pushes her over the edge, and she starts cursing him out. Kang just tells her she's showing her true colors now. Suddenly, the door bursts open and flies off its hinges. Everyone turns to see who just walked in, and Kang tells the Karen to pay her respects. Mommy Media walks in with a menacing aura. She looks at Kang and says she's delighted to see him after such a long time. Kang apologizes for making her come all the way here, knowing she's probably busy, but Media brushes it off, saying it's nonsense. She'll come running for him anytime. Hearing Kang's name, the Karen finally realizes who he is, the top student of this year's freshman class. Media tells Kang she'll handle the paperwork and tells him to head back. Our boy thanks her and leaves. After that, Media goes full mafia mode and shows the Karen exactly who's boss. And oh Lord, God bless those legs. The Karen starts shaking in panic and tells Media that it's all a misunderstanding, but Media isn't buying it. She says she doesn't need divine powers to know exactly how the Karen mocked Kang. She tells her that, out of all people, Kang is personally selected by her and Siegfried. Then, she throws a paper at her and tells the Karen she has 5 minutes to fill it out. Looking down, the Karen sees the paper. It's her resignation letter. Well, she got what she deserved, rip bozo. Kang gets a message from Media saying everything went smoothly. She tells him he just needs to find one more member for his team, and he's good to go. Kang thanks her, and she cheekily tells him to come to her office for some Netflix and chill. But our boy ends the chat. Looks like bro has his priorities straight. After that, Kang visits the forge. The blacksmith tells him his gear is almost done, just needs a minute. Watching him work, Kang thinks the blacksmith finally looks like a real one, but he's still unsure how to feel about him. The guy's always scamming him into overwork, and Kang feels kind of bad for him. In the game, the blacksmith is both loved and hated by players. Some call him God Lant, others call him Scam Lant. That's because upgrading weapons is an RNG event. It either succeeds or fails, and most of the time, players just lose money. As Kang is lost in thought, the blacksmith calls out to him, saying the upgrade is finished, and shows off the upgraded sashimi knife. Our boy calls him God Lant. The blacksmith tells tells him to stop acting creepy. In the next scene, Kang is sitting outside reviewing his stats. He sees that his activation time has increased by 50 seconds, and he thinks it's a good thing, definitely better than before. He checks the stats of the knife and sees it's D rank now. Kang expected at least C rank, since he used materials from an A-grade monster. Still, he thinks it's a win, since its hardness increased and it shouldn't shatter mid-combat anymore. Then, the system shows a new feature has been unlocked when he touches the knife. It reveals he can now add magic stones to it for enhancement. Our boy is completely shocked to see it. The scene shifts to the Elder's room, where Elder Clady is pissed off and drinking like a madman. He starts thinking about his past. It's your typical villain backstory. His father was one of the 7 heroes, but one day he was killed by the 5th commander. After that, Clady survived among his scheming relatives and eventually became an elder at 30. He wanted to control everything. But one day, Leon appeared as the hero candidate, and everything changed. Then he was approached by an instructor who's half demon and showed him who's truly the strongest. Since then, he's been working under her. As he finishes recalling his backstory, he calls his servant and orders him to summon the Undertakers. The scene shifts to the classroom where Kang is deep in thought about the magic stones. Since he has 3 empty slots, if he manages to equip them with the right magic stones, they'll provide special abilities, and that would be a huge jackpot. As he's thinking about it, he notices Saki sleeping and wonders if she stayed up all night. Kang thinks about the future of the club, the monsters they'll have to face, and one of them being the Gigant. There are even more powerful monsters added later in the game. He starts to wonder if it's really worth risking his life just for some magic stones. Suddenly, Chloe walks in and asks if the seat is taken. Then she glares at Saki, who's fast asleep in her seat. Kang asks Chloe if she's fully recovered. Chloe says she's fine, but reminds Kang that he went through more than she did, especially when he unleashed a blue aura from his weapon. Kang quickly stops her and asks not to bring that up. He starts thinking again if farming magic stones is really worth it, but he craves more strength. Since he's already abandoned his peaceful life, his only goal now is survival. He needs to deal with the unexpected twists in the game's plot. It's only been a month since he enrolled, and he's already faced so much. As Kang is lost in his thoughts about preparing for the future, Batten walks in and notices Saki sleeping. He tries to prank her, but Saki uppercuts him straight in the face. Kang snaps back to reality and sees Batten in pain. Batten calls Kang president and complains that Saki hit him. Then he asks how the club registration is going. Kang tells him the headmaster approved it, but they still need to find one more member as soon as possible. He also tells him to stop calling him president. Baton agrees and then tells Kang that Leon has been clearing high-rank dungeons non-stop. Kang thinks Leon is finally acting like the protagonist. Saki joins the conversation and tells them that Leon even cleared an A-ranked dungeon yesterday with a small party. Meanwhile, they barely managed to clear a C-rank one. Baton raises an eyebrow and asks Saki why she knows so much about Leon. Then he outright asks if she's stalking him. Saki stays silent. Baton calls her out for not even denying it. Saki looks at Kang and tells Batten she's not interested in Leon anymore. Kang starts thinking. Leon is growing stronger, and at this rate, he'll probably get the legendary weapon, Balmung, in the upcoming Survival Island training. Still, Kang feels a little better knowing he's come this far with just his sashimi knife. He wonders if his existence is acting like a shield for Leon, diverting all the threats meant for him, which doesn't sit well with Kang. But he decides not to give up. He might not be the hero, but he'll do whatever it takes to survive. He whispers that he'll cut anything, whatever it may be. Hearing that, Saki asks Kang if he's into anime because he's spewing some corny lines, and our boy just replies no. The scene shifts to a group of mercenaries arguing about why they even took this job. Their boss shuts them up as they enter Elder Clady's chamber. We're introduced to the leader of the Undertakers, Ray Shen. And goddamn, we got a bona fide baddie here. Elder Clady welcomes them and shows them Kang's profile. He orders them to handle Kang during the next week's island training and promises 100 million up front. Ray asks how they should dispose of him. Clady coldly tells them to dump him in the ocean and let the sharks take care of him. The scene shifts again to the day of the written exam. Our boy is revising hard because the rankings will be posted publicly, and he wants to save his reputation in front of his club members. Then he gets a text from Saki asking if he ate breakfast. Kang wonders why she's acting like his mom, then tells her he had a sandwich. Saki replies that he needs to load up on sugar. It helps the brain function. That's apparently why she's always snacking. Kang wonders what kind of nonsense she's saying first thing in the morning. He texts back that his country has traditional exam sweets. Saki asks what kind of sweets they are. Then our boy tells her to eat shit and gaslights her by ignoring the rest of her messages. He just hopes to do well in the exam. He can't let this sweet maniac beat him. But our boy fumbled the exam. He thinks he's an idiot as everyone's discussing their answers. Chloe asks how he did, and Kang admits he guessed all 3 of them. Chloe is stunned and asks how someone could guess essay questions. But in reality, our boy cheated, using the knowledge of the lore. He then asks Chloe if she's heard anything from Nox. Chloe tells him her brother called yesterday, but she accidentally slept through it because she had been studying all night. Kang asks what time he called, and she says around 7 p.m. He starts to think auditor members' contacts are supposed to be classified unless Nox contacts him directly. Chloe is his only source of information, and he hopes they both get along better soon. Then Batten starts screaming in frustration, saying he studied for days and still couldn't get a top score. Saki tells him to accept the talent gap. She then moves closer to Kang and asks what he and Chloe were whispering about, and asks if they're dating or not. Kang gets annoyed while Chloe drifts off into her dreamland. Once again, Kang tells Saki that it's not like that. Hearing that, Saki gets even closer and asks why Kang is ignoring her texts. Our boy says it was only once, but it's too late. Chloe suddenly goes full yandere mode and asks if Saki and Kang are in touch. Kang can't understand why Chloe is acting like this. She was totally fine when Saki sat beside him earlier, but now, just over a simple contact, her entire mood has shifted. Baton, sensing the tension, turns to Chloe and asks what's going on. Meanwhile, Saki is still teasing Kang about the situation, pretending she has no clue what's happening. Kang, now seriously annoyed, tells Saki to get the hell away from him, but she keeps playing innocent. Chloe suddenly demands to know why Kang didn't give her his number. Our boy tries to explain that her number is classified, but Chloe completely loses it. She tells him he promised to be her prince. Saki, still watching, asks Kang, what the heck is wrong with Chloe? Kang leans closer and asks her if she knows what a yandere is, but Saki just smirks and teases back, what do you mean by yandere? Still being as unhinged as ever. Baton finally steps in and pulls Saki away, scolding her for acting like a brat. But then, he sees Chloe pull out a box cutter. Kang immediately realizes the situation is out of control and regrets not watching more videos about yanderes on YouTube. Chloe walks toward him and tells him that she'll make sure he only ever looks at her. Kang tries to calm her down, but she suddenly lunges forward to strike him. He barely dodges the attack. As Chloe continues swinging, she cries out that Kang always makes her sad, that he's always surrounded by everyone except her, always hanging out with other girls. Then, she switches targets and charges at Saki, but Kang blocks her just in time. Chloe keeps ranting, saying she always does her best for him, but he never shows any interest. As everyone is watching, Kang quickly pins Chloe down onto a table and tells her to talk things out. Chloe screams at him to let go, but Kang insists she just listen. Chloe, still mad, asks why he never contacts her, claiming there's nothing left to talk about. Then, Kang pulls out his ultimate Riz move. He tells her he wanted to talk to her face to face, not through a hunk of metal like a phone. He says it just feels too cold, too distant. Hearing that, Chloe is stunned. Then our boy leans in closer to her ear and says he'll always be grateful to her and thanks her for always thinking of him. Hearing this, Chloe blushes hard, and Kang's Riz is so powerful, even Batten feels secondhand embarrassment just watching. Our boy keeps going. He tells Chloe he always relied on her, even during the Buffalo Dungeon, and he asks her not to be too upset. Just like that, Kang shows how to handle a yandere. Too bad we can't use this in real life. Batten rushes to Kang and asks if he's okay. Kang assures him he's fine, but they need to clean up first. Meanwhile, Saki walks out silently, not saying a word. Later, we see Batten and Saki walking together, still thinking about what just happened. Batten reflects on how Chloe always seems to lose control when it involves Kang. If he had to guess, Chloe has a twisted kind of love for him. But what really shocked him was seeing Kang sweet-talk Chloe while holding his sashimi knife the whole whole time. Baton is genuinely impressed. Kang doesn't just use brute force, he blends persuasion, negotiation, and strength. Baton thinks it's the quality of a ruler. He believes Kang will make it big someday. Then he notices Saki sulking. He asks what's up, but Saki brushes it off, telling him it's nothing. Still, he sees her fiddling with her phone. When he asks about it, she tells him she's deleting her YouTube video because her subscribers aren't really engaging with it. Baton asks if it's the how to handle a yandere video. Saki shows it to him. It has 210,000 views. Baton points out that it's actually pretty popular. Saki says she doesn't need it anymore and deletes the video. Baton then asks why her channel is named Saki-chan's Japanese and whether she was trying to teach the language. Saki shrugs and says she just slapped on a random name. Baton bursts out laughing at how corny it sounds. The scene shifts to the library, where Kang is preparing for the upcoming island survival training. He's gathering books and refreshing his memory. He recalls the main storyline from the game. During this training, the protagonist acquires the hilt of his signature weapon. It's also the part where Leon and Abel start to catch feelings for each other, but Kang doesn't feel jealous. Ever since he enrolled, his life has become a non-stop cycle of chaos. He's managing a club as its president, constantly facing threats. He reflects that no matter how pretty someone is, this is not the time for feelings. Looks like bro is in his Sigma grind set. Kang is more interested in Leon's weapon, a sword that's both holy and demonic. As a former player, Kang knows exactly where the broken pieces are and just how powerful it can become. But tracking down those pieces is a major part of the game's core story. Even with all his knowledge, he still can't get the sword himself because Balmung chooses its own master, and Leon is the one tied to the blessing of miracle. It's a weapon made exclusively for the protagonist. Meanwhile, Kang's stuck, swinging around a sashimi knife like a lunatic. So instead of focusing on things he can't control, he decides to focus on what he can do to prepare for island training. This time, things will be different. The headmaster and even the sword emperor will be part of the supervising team. Kang begins searching for the Book of Avalon Island because he also has something he needs to find there, but he only finds the same info he already knows from the game. He wonders if he'll have to dig through the entire library to uncover what he's looking for. Just then, he hears a familiar voice. Leon calls out to him and says, "Long time no see." Kang sees Leon holding a book titled Introduction to Magic. He thinks maybe Leon is trying to learn from what happened during midterms, but as the protagonist, Leon shouldn't be in the library studying magic. Leon then asks Kang what book he is reading. Our boy tells him he's just studying about the island for the training coming up next week. Leon goes silent, then says Kang is super diligent, and our boy can't deny that. He's been really busy with training and dungeon exploring. He needs to prepare, since he knows exactly what happens over the next 3 years. Kang tells Leon he should take care of his own future. Hearing this, Leon says he's different from him. Our boy recalls the time Leon asked where he came from. Leon hasn't strayed far from the game's plot, but something about him feels different. There's a sense of sadness in his face. Leon then tells him to get back safely and leaves. Kang wonders if that sadness comes from the burden of being a hero weighing on his shoulders. Then Kang wraps up for the day. Finally, the day arrives for survival training. We see Rachel and Abel meeting Saki and Chloe. They greet each other, and we get to see all our waifus in a single panel. Abel asks Saki if she's all set for training, and Saki tells her she'll do fine. Then she asks Abel what about her. Seeing them chat, Rachel jumps in, saying Saki had snuck into the advanced class behind their backs, and her school life must be fun. Saki says she followed all the procedures and didn't feel the need to tell them. Rachel then teases Abel, saying she can't sit idly while Kang gets stolen away. Abel tells her to shut up. Rachel goes into a tantrum, saying Saki followed Kang into the Buffalo Dungeon. She's a member of his club, and now she'll be with him for a 3-day training trip. Saki stops her, saying Kang is going solo for this because he wanted to do something alone. Chloe confirms it. Hearing this, Rachel gets excited and asks everyone if no one had officially paired up with Kang. Saki and Abel ask her what she's planning. Rachel says Kang said he wants to go alone, but he didn't say not to follow him. Since everyone is thinking the same thing, she proposes a fair and square game called called the Rachel game. The others are still confused. What is she even saying? Rachel explains the Avalon Island terrain and environment constantly shift, so they will be teleported at random and have to find their own way to team up with others. Saki tells her to get to the point. Rachel says during this 3-day survival training, whoever finds Kang first gets him, and the other 3 should back off. They'll have exclusive rights for him. Now all of them are interested. Rachel tells them whether they charm him or cling to him. They can do whatever they want, except no interference. Saki says it sounds fun, and they should send a verification photo when they find him. Chloe says she'll win this time. Meanwhile, Abel is blushing, just thinking about having exclusive rights for Kang, but she recalls the incident with her grandfather. Then Rachel asks Abel if she's also in, but Abel says she doesn't have time for such petty games and won't be joining them. Rachel says fine, they'll do it themselves, and the girls begin planning. Meanwhile, our boy is feeling tired because he stayed up the night in the library studying. He noted everything he needs on his phone and is packing: 24 Walmart sashimi knives and a secret weapon. Media texted him asking if he packed everything, and Kang thinks she's acting like a real mom, but considering her age, he thinks she's more like a grandma. Then Kang looks at the instructors and remembers the purple-haired and purple-eyed person targeting him. He thinks the island will be the best place to dispose of someone. Nobody will know. He can use this to his advantage. Even though he doesn't like using blades on people, he won't let himself die. He remembers Batten's sketch of the instructor and tries to compare it to the others, but there are too many purple-haired female instructors, so he gives up. Then Siegfried calls out to him. He walks in with Abel, wearing a Hawaiian outfit, and asks Kang if he's slacking on his training. He tells Kang to enjoy his training to the fullest. Our boy thanks Siegfried and hopes he lands a big catch too. Siegfried gets shy about that and says he'll be going. As Kang turns to Abel, she ignores him and walks ahead. Our boy thinks she'll have a boyfriend soon, so she should lighten up a little. Then Saki tries to prank him from behind, but Bro uses his ultra instincts and flicks her on the forehead. Saki screams in pain, saying she was just trying to joke around. Kang apologizes, saying he felt a presence and reacted instinctively. Saki tells him her forehead is not a punching bag. She wanted to wish him luck, but changed her mind and leaves. Our boy still can't figure her out. Lately, she's barely sleeping and hovering around him. He doesn't understand what part of him she finds interesting, but he knows she's an official heroine, and he doesn't want to build unnecessary relationships. Then an announcement tells everyone the dimensional gate to the island is activating. Our boy hopes he finds what he came for and gets through without trouble. The gate activates, and Kang gets teleported to the island. He recognizes the place. It's the apple tree of beginning Yggdrasil. Now everyone is ready, and the deserted island survival training has officially begun. Kang hopes he can find a new blessing.